Hey, hi, Rascal. How's it going? Hey, you're early, but that's no problem at all. And I just noticed that my text on my countdown page is overlapping the chat box. I'll have to fix that at some point. Whoops. I hope you had a good weekend, Rascal. Hey, welcome in, everybody. No, you're not late at all, Antacid. No problem at all. That's why we have a countdown to give people time to trickle in. Hey, welcome, Lalo. Yeah, Rascal, honestly, I don't like I installed Node on my old computer, like my laptop. Um, but I was just kind of like all I wanted to do was be able to get the console log in VS Code, and so I didn't really pay attention. I just like clicked as fast as I could to get it installed. I'm gonna try to pay a little bit more attention this time to the things I'm clicking. But as I recall, it was a bit of a process. So we'll see how it goes. It might be a disaster, it might be awesome, who knows? And also, I'm using Windows 7 on this. Oh, sorry, not Windows 7, Windows 11 on this computer as well. So that I don't know if that'll make a difference, but it might make things interesting. No, no, it was all like it was just click through. It was all click through stuff, Rascal. Hey, hey, welcome in, everybody. Hi. My goodness, everybody's on time today. I love it. Good evening, Moldy Hyphenate. Hey, JT Kurth, welcome. Linda, you said your closure lecture referenced Node a lot, so let's see if any of that clicks while working with Node. Oh, maybe. That's awesome. Ah, you did a whiteboard with a few hundred devs people? Oh, that's rad. Times 7Q, not an. So you did like a. So you did it. You coded it in Google Docs. Oh, that's awesome. That's a challenge. No error checking or anything like that. That's really cool. Hey, Jules, welcome. Taco, will today be fun? We'll see. Honestly, I think the Node stuff that we're going to do once we get Node installed, I think it should be pretty fun. We're going to just kind of practice. We're going to make the coin flip game. We're just going to kind of and we're going to kind of walk through the code that Leon has provided, and just just sort of like see what it's doing, and then how we can modify it to do what he asked us to do. Okay, so the timer has counted down. So hello, welcome. So I'm not going to stay in big mode for too long today because we got work to do. But just to go over what we're going to try to get done today. So we're going to go and install Node. This computer, as you may recall, this is a new computer that I just got, so it's missing a lot of stuff, including Node. I installed Node on my previous laptop, but we're going to do it again on this machine, kind of live, to kind of just show folks the process if they're a little bit daunted by installing Node, not sure what to do. And we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm doing this live, so I don't know. And then we're also going to then take the sample code that Leon has provided, run it in Node, run our own server, and then we're gonna take that code that he gave us and we're gonna dry it out. We're gonna make it cleaner, better, because that's what he told us to do, right? We're gonna make it cleaner and better, and then we're gonna add a coin flip. So we're gonna give it a different purpose than it had before. And to be clear, the Discord, so his post on Discord did say that all this was due next Tuesday. That's not true. He confirmed that today in office hours. He said it's not due on Tuesday. So we're just being flexosaurus here a little bit. So you're going to go into Tuesday's class extra super prepared. You're going to be like, man, I got this. Leon, I know what you're talking about. I already saw this on my stream. I got you covered, man. And he confirmed that with me privately that this is not due Tuesday. We're just flexing a little. So, all right. I'm going to take a hydrate. My throat is a little scratchy today, so I'm going to try to hydrate a little bit more often. Okay. But yeah, I hope everybody had an awesome weekend, and we're gonna get some work done tonight, hopefully, assuming the installation goes well. We'll see. All right. Silent Spy. What is Wolfpack? That is the sort of the name that has organically grown for the folks that attend my streams. It's just a play on a pack of wolves. um, Mohammed, hi. Thank you for redeeming that hydrate real scony. Okay. Will this sort of go over what was assigned, make that port or server? Yeah, so we're going to install Node. We're going to make sure our server's running. We're going to test that server out. Then we're going to clean up the code that's already there, and then we're going to make it do stuff. So yeah, we're gonna flex a little bit. It's going to be fun. Okay. What's my username supposed to mean? It really doesn't mean anything. It was one of those things I made up in junior high, and it kind of stuck with me for the past 16 years. Yeah. Oh, I gotta turn on captions. Give me just 1 second. Bear with me, and then we'll get started, okay? I always forget to do that. I am so sorry, folks. All right. And starting captions. There we go. Captions are going for anybody that needs them. You can enable them using the settings on the right side of your screen. Oh, thank you. Naeem 5. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I need to raise this monitor up a little bit more. It's too short. Okay, let's get going. How about feel free to ask me questions at any time. And who knows? We'll see how this goes. It might be great. It might be terrible. I don't know. We're like I say, we're doing it live. We're doing a YOLO here. So, right. Okay, so I've already got my VS Code. Oh, welcome, CO Codex. Thank you for the follow. I've got my VS Code open here. Oh, stretch. Okay. There we go. I'm going to be careful when I stretch. I don't want to knock my mic over. It's balanced very precariously. Okay. That was a good stretch. All right. So let's go ahead and go. We're going to go to the Node website to get it there. Oh, you're fine, CO. No problem at all. So let's see. I don't want to use that window. I'm going to open a new window here. All right. Install Node. Okay. And we can go. We're going to go straight here to the Node website. So Leon mentioned, obviously there's package managers and things that can kind of, like or you can use like WSL and all that sort of thing. Leon suggested that we just go straight to the Node website and we just install it just vanilla like this. And so that's what we're going to do. So, and then we have two choices here, right? We can install the like the stable version, so the older version, the one that's not under any active development, or we can install the current version for the latest features. I'm going to be a little bold here, and we're going to go ahead and install the current version. You don't have to. It's up to you. I like features. Give me features. Hey, welcome, Sue. I'm glad you just found out about 100 devs. If you want, do exclamation point here. I'll do it for you. You can do exclamation point Leon in the chat and get more information. If you want to make sure you have links to the Twitch, the Discord, his Twitch, Discord, and website. Yeah, there you go. Got it. Okay. Let's go ahead and download. So we're going to use, I'm on a Windows machine, so we're going to go ahead and use the Windows downloader and try this out. Okay, it's done. And we'll go ahead and execute. Okay, so it's just launching a wizard here. We'll click next. Oh, and I think somebody else had a hydrate there. I don't think I did that. My mouth is already dry. Like I said, I'm just a little scratchy today. I don't think I'm sick. I think I'm just like, I don't know, allergies or something maybe. Okay, gonna accept the terms of the agreement. I totally read that whole thing, right? You guys will vouch for me, right? I read the whole agreement. we'll say next. I'm just going to put it in my program files. I'm not going to specify the directory. You like your node like you like your relationships long-term stable. That's fantastic. It's a good type. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I have commitment issues, so we're gonna go with the more unstable version. All right. So we chose the default directory here. You like here's alpha. You guys are so funny. And so it's going to install the runtime, and it's going to also install the npm package manager just automatically. So I don't think we're going to mess with any of this. And I think this is what Rascal was referring to earlier with path variables. I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to mess with it. We're just going to keep things at the default and see what happens. Oh no, Rascal, there's recorded evidence now that I didn't read the license agreement. Uh-oh. This is off the record. All right, so we're going to keep things by default here, and we're just going to go next. Some npm modules need to be compiled from C or C++ when installing. If you want to be able to install such modules, some tools need to be installed. I don't know. I wonder which modules those are. What do you guys? What's for those of you who are familiar with this? What's Chocolatey going to do for me? This will probably be good for other folks too that may get to this step and pause. So, if I was just doing this myself, I would probably just click the checkbox and go. But I think it's important to, you think it's an installer? Okay. It's a package manager. Okay. So npm, the one that's the package manager that's installed automatically, doesn't sound like that's not enough then for some of these modules. Okay, well, we'll try installing it and we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. So we'll install it and we'll see what that does. So that's okay, package. Yeah, I've heard of it before. I was thinking it was something like that, but all right. Yeah, that's like I said. This is none of this is the end of the world. We're feeling it out. It's all good. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and install. Okay, I'm gonna say yes. I don't know if y'all saw that. It might have blanked it out. Oh, where's my gameplay? I got the admin thing pop up and then it blanked out my flipping window. So hang on. Can you guys not see my screen anymore? That's lame. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's back. I just had to kind of go to like the refresh the capture window. Okay, you didn't miss anything. You just missed the administrator window for my computer. Super exciting. So that was, you didn't miss anything at all. And this is just what popped up right afterwards. So it says Node has been successfully installed. Well, Cassava, I think we're getting into that now, right? Because Node, like Leon said, you're all software developers, but we haven't even done backend yet. Well, but with Node, you're kind of hosting your own server, right? So, and if we look at Leon's sample code, which we'll see here in a minute, we're actually kind of building our own little mini API as well. So we're getting there. We're dipping our toe in, and I think that's fair to say that we're dipping our toe into it. So this is where we start calling ourselves software engineers now, full stack developers. Yeah. I'm just reading down here in the chat. Oh, okay. Thanks, Antacid. Thanks for sharing. So npm is for inside Node, and Chocolatey does apps in your OS, so outside of Node. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks, Rascal. Yeah, that's appreciated. So Rascal says sometimes packages need to install different bindings. They use lower level code to interact with system things. There are different versions of these bindings for all platforms, and sometimes you need a package manager to go and get them for us. So that makes sense. Yeah, so Node is like server stuff. It is, yeah. Okay, so Larcy says, this may be getting way ahead of what we're doing, but based on what Leon showed during class, we are able to open and close the server only when something is needed by the user. I'm not sure I fully understand your question. We can start our server at any time, and we can leave it running and wait for user input. So that's what we're going to do here in just a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. One moment. Let me just see who it is. It's my dad. Just give me 2 seconds, okay? Okay, I'm sorry about that. He just didn't know I was streaming, so it's all good. All right. He said, there's no emergency or anything, so he just didn't know I was on. He didn't know I was live. All right, so I'm gonna finish. And so now what we get, so the installation wizard has closed, but now we get a different pop-up here. We get our terminal pop-up, and it says this script will install Python and the Visual Studio build tools, and it's necessary for Node.js native modules. And it's going to require about 3 gigs of disk space. So I'm going to go ahead and close like VS Code and some of those things. I'm not going to close all my open windows. I don't feel like I need to do that. Yeah, so let's try it. All right, we're going to press any key to continue. There we go. Okay, and it looks like here it's installing Chocolatey. Ugh, and I got another pop-up window asking me about stuff. So I'm going to refresh it here. There we go. Okay, and what this did, when I okayed that installation, that second installation, you can see here it opened PowerShell. And so don't freak out. It's doing all this stuff automatically. It's just showing you what it's doing in Windows PowerShell. Still going. So you can see it still says it's installing, so it hasn't stopped yet. I'm going to move it to the right a little bit. Still installing. Yeah, and JT Kurth, depending on like your security settings and stuff on your machine, you might get different messages that pop up at different times, like asking you for permission or that sort of thing. In my case, Windows 11 may have slightly different permission settings than say Windows 10 or Windows 7, or Windows 8 if you're into that kind of thing. But in this case, it did give me a pop up before each installation. I just had to click install. It's installing a bunch of updates and still going. Yeah, and whether you're on Linux or Mac makes a difference as well. PowerShell, my old friend. Yeah. And I'm not doing any of this. It's all just happening. You got Node on a Chromebook. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, using Chrome OS. I hadn't thought about that. Still going. I hear my fan kicking up a little bit, so it's definitely working on something. Hey, no offense to anybody who's a fan of Windows 8, but I don't know many fans of Windows 8. Going, going, going. Yeah, I mean, little Z, I think you absolutely could install Chocolatey later. That's probably I'm sure that's no problem. I wouldn't know exactly how to do that, but I'm sure that's probably an easy Google to just say, hey, install chocolatey for Node. Um, I'm sure it would be no problem at all. Gonna hydrate again while I have the chance. It's still going. Let's see. It's hard to tell whether it's done or not. Windows 8 has fans that are in the computer keeping everything cool. Oh man. But oh, that's a good one. All right, I think maybe it's done. Hard to tell. Let's open. Hey, no glitches yet. I'm just trying to figure out if it's done. I think it might be done. Is it not done? Well, it's already been a while. Maybe it's okay. Well, I'll wait. I'll be patient. I'll be patient. Yeah, I guess the cursor's still blinking down here, isn't it? Yeah. I didn't get my command prompt back first try. You might have spoke too soon there, Mavi. We'll see. So I recall, Rascal, when I installed this last time, PowerShell didn't close itself. So that's why I was a little that's why I jumped the gun a little bit. But I love that 156 people are watching a blinking PowerShell window right now. I love it. The most quality entertainment at all times. This is what you come to Twitch for. Oh, thanks, thanks, Patricia. Mm-hmm. Edge of my seat with this install. It's gripping, I must say. I would be on the edge of my seat if I wasn't standing. Cassava says, so serious question, how do you guys manage to do all this work and projects and code wars and coffee chats and checklist and website? Oh, there it goes. Woo! All right. I guess, a watched PowerShell window never moves, right? Okay. With 2 jobs, I'm trying my best, but some things are just taking a lot of time to get done. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like Leon says, like not everybody has the same privilege of time. I mean, I have a full-time job, but also my evenings are quite free most of the time, so I have time to do this kind of thing. But not everybody has the same privilege of time, and so I think what's important is to just make the most of what time you have. Like Leon says, don't go into your days like an accident. Try to plan out as much as you can. Oh, and I can type enter to exit, it looks like. Cool. Yay, it's done. Awesome. And so, as much plan as much as you can. And, just like if you have to, postpone a little bit or skip some days or something like that. I mean, don't kick yourself out about it, right? Because, we're all going to get there eventually. And that's why this course being the way it is so great, right? The fact that there is the catch up crew, that there is really no like it's not like a regular university course where you're on a set schedule. You can always catch up later if you need to, if you need that time. Perfect YOLO opportunity for points. Hey, welcome, Fretter. All right, so theoretically it's installed. So let's see. Let's try it out, huh? All right. Making sure I didn't miss anything important here. All right. Well, let's open VS Code again. Right back where we left off. And so essentially what we're going to do, we're going to there's a couple ways we could test this. So I already have console runner installed, and so I think if Node is not working, it would tell me that Node is not found. So, but let's just go straight into it, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so I'm also going to get my incognito window pulled back up here. This is going to be where we're going to have our server. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a terminal window, and we can open a terminal window directly in VS Code, which is right here. So we're going to go up to the top, and we're going to say terminal, and we can say new terminal, and you can see it's opened a little PowerShell window here. And let's just see where we are in our folder structure, because we're going to want to navigate to our we're gonna want to navigate to the chosen document that we want to essentially run Node on, the document that we kind of want to use to start our server. And in this case, what I'm doing is I've gone to the class 35 materials. So if you don't have these, go ahead and go to the 100 Devs Discord, and go to the follow along materials channel, and just download the class 35 materials and extract them from the zip folder. Hopefully most folks that are on here do know how to do that, but if you don't, let me know. See, making sure the chat's kind of going here. Do you need Node.js to write backend with JS? I believe so, yes. If you want to do like, custom web apps and that kind of thing that are hitting a server. Okay, yeah, all right. So let's see. First we're going to see where we are. So how we can see where we're at in our file structure is we can go ls. All right. So we can see that it looks like I need to go into one more folder. So I'm going to cd change directory into node intro demo, and my microphone is actually blocking my keyboard a little bit. That's going to be a problem. All right, we'll go in there, and then we'll do an ls again. We'll see if we're in the right place, and we are. So now, does anybody know? Oh, there we go. Does anybody know how do I start? How do I tell Node to essentially launch a server from a file? How would I do that? Yeah, node file, exactly. Not too hard, right? All right, so moment of truth. Let's see if this works, huh? So we're going to go node, and we're going to do it off of our demo.js file. Node demo.js. All right. Okay, and it's given me a little pop-up here. This will only happen once. So just say allow access, and it's probably going to blank my screen again, so I apologize. It's going to allow it access on all networks. Oh, okay. No, it didn't. Cool. All right. So you can't quite see that because it's behind my chat window, behind my little chat box there, but I'll move it over a little there. Okay. So you can see that the little cursor icon is just kind of blinking down there. And so that means that my server is running. So we can go ahead and go into our browser window here, and we can just type local host, and then colon, and then our local host here is on port 8000. So we're going to do 8000. Oh, hey, look at that. Look what we got. First try, yeah. Ty, did you run it in? So did you try to use it do it using Code Runner, or did you actually open the terminal? So you got to go to terminal and then new terminal. Did you do that? Yeah. So we got it. First try. Go us, right? Oh yeah, so an alternative to typing node and file, according to El Toro, is to just yell computer run node demo.js, and just yell out as loud as you can. Results may vary. Yeah, and we're going to And we're just starting with the intro. This is basically just testing that Node is working, that we've installed it correctly. And it looks like we did. And Taco, yeah, I mean, you could do it via npm, but in this case, we're just doing totally vanilla here. We're not getting any package manager stuff or libraries or anything like that. We are just doing some basic server activation here. Oh, and oh yeah, okay. That's a good point. I see what I see where Ty is coming from now, and yeah, we're gonna get there in just a second. Yeah, so Leon's basic file here works, so that tells us that Node is installed correctly. Now let's try the more complex one. So he had another one here that's called Node backend simple JSON, and there's a lot more going on here. So if we go into this one, if we look at this server file, this one is a lot busier, right? There's a lot going on here. It's doing all sorts of things, and we're going to get into what this is actually doing in a little bit. But for now, let's just test it out. So I'm going to junk this terminal and open a new one and see where I'm at. All right, and this time we're going to go into, I need to move my mic over. I cannot type. All right. We're going to go into cd into node backend simple JSON. Oop, I spelled Jason wrong. Spell it as Jason, the person. Okay, and now we're in there. We'll check our files. And so now let's see if we can run this one. Node, this file here is called server.js. There is another JS file in here under main.js, and that's just doing our traditional JavaScript code. There's nothing server related in there. So we're going to run the server.js file. So let's try that. Uh-oh. Whoops. We got some stuff going on here, right? What does it say? All right. Error, cannot find module figlet. Now, what the flip is that, right? What's a figlet? It sounds like a fruit or a piglet. I don't know. And so we're going to look and see. All right, so I see here something called figlet. Okay, so if we're calling it later, that probably means that we needed to yeah, so it's a required module. So we're getting, so this is it appears to be a Node module, but for some reason it's not working. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to need to install it. So we'll do that in just a second. I'm just going to pause here and read the chat. See if there's a lot going on. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody behind. Oh, Smile asks, how do I go back one? I assume that you drilled too far down into your directory. Is that right? You can do cd dot dot, or I think, is it 2 dots or 1? It's try that and see where it'll put you back up the file chain anyway. Then you can always drill back down if you need to. How do we cd into the file again? Just type cd and then the next level down that you want to go to. Yeah, so I would suggest if you're trying to get to the file, I would just do ls. So do ls first. It'll list out all the files in wherever you are, and it'll kind of tell you where you are. And then you can do a cd into whichever file you want to be in. Now you're going to want to cd into the folder, and then you're going to run node on the specific file in that folder that you want to use. What the figlet? Yeah, exactly. Why do I use Windows instead of Mac? Because I want to play a bunch of video games. I don't know. I like video games. I switched into the more complex one. So Node intro demo was really just telling us that we installed Node correctly and we are able to launch a server. So I think if I were to reload this now, it wouldn't work because I killed the server. I killed the terminal session. Yeah. So I killed that one because we're not going to use that going forward. That just helped us test to see like, yep, we got it right. And now we've moved on to the Node backend simple JSON, which is a little bit more complex. And I wanted to illustrate that when I try to run that, it actually doesn't work. You can't CD into different directories. Make sure you're typing CD space and then the name of the file that you want, like the name of the folder that you want to go into. So first, all right, let's back up a little bit. Okay. I want to make sure that everybody's feeling okay here. So this is important too if you're doing stuff like GitHub, right? And you want to be pushing stuff to GitHub in the command line. It's the same commands. So if you've been doing GitHub, these are the same commands, and so you really need to know them. So let's back up just a tad. All right, so we're going to open a new terminal again. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type ls. Now, what does that do? It lists the files that are in the current folder where I am. So you can see I'm in C users, my username, downloads, class 35 materials, because I'm on Windows and not Mac. And so I'm going to type ls, and that's going to show me everything in my class 35 materials folder. Okay. And we can see that there's API template, async practice, Node backend simple JSON, and Node intro demo. Okay. And we can see that what's listed there matches what I see listed here, because I also have the class 35 folder open in VS Code, right? So same folder, it's showing me the same subfolders in both. Okay, now I know that I'm working in this Node backend simple JSON folder, right? So I want to go into that folder so that I can launch Node against one of the files in the folder. Okay. So let's go ahead and CD into that. So I'm going to type CD space, and then I'm going to say Node backend simple JSON. And what that's doing is it's going into this folder right here. It's going into the Node backend simple JSON folder. Okay. Now I'm going to ls again to see where I am, even though I kind of know. This is going to show me the files in that folder. I've just gone into it. Now I want to see the files. Okay. And it's showing me the CSS subfolder, the JS subfolder, in all four of the files that are in there. So now if I click over here in VS Code, I see the same thing, right? I see CSS, JS, and then the four files that are at the root. Okay. So now I can target the specific server.js file that I want to run Node on. Hey, welcome, Leah. The term Node is not recognized. Did you install Node? Did you, Ian, if you just popped in, we just went through installing Node. So you have to install Node.js first. Just go to their website and click through the prompts. You got to install that first before we can do this stuff. Let's see that Steam folder. Lots of either 100% completed games or unplayed games. I'm kind of I'm an all or nothing kind of gal. You didn't get that arrow? That means you probably have that that module, that Figlet module. Then that's fine. It's working. We'll get there in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, and Leon has two class 35 folders, because one's for Mac and one's for Windows. There's the master folder, and then one for Mac, one for Windows. So just CD down one more level. You'll be fine. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try it again. So, and let's read that error a little bit. Okay, so this looks like a lot of stuff, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, how do I figure out what's gone wrong? But if we scroll up a little bit, we can see that what specifically the error message is this: cannot find module Figlet. And so we're going to have to install that. And I have no idea why that didn't install itself, but here we are. So the same thing happened on my laptop as well. I have no idea why, but we'll figure it out. So let's do that. Did anybody else get this, or is it just me? I'm curious. Let's see. And Rascal literally, oh, you got it. You all got it too. Okay. Um, yeah, and you got to read the errors top to bottom, right? So start at the front, scroll up, find the meat of the error, and that will usually tell you what the problem is. Yeah. Okay. A new error is progress. Indeed, it is. Absolutely. I like that mindset. It totally is, though. Okay. So, Rascal, you actually posted the exact text that I needed in order to do this. Can you post that again, please? TLDR, here's how to use the npm package manager, but we do it early. I know. Yeah, no. Haven't used it before, but npm I figlet. All right, let's do it. Let's try it. npm I figlet. I'll admit that I literally, like on mine, on my laptop, I just commented out all the figlet stuff and it worked just fine. But we're going to try this. What's better than doing things live and untested, right? Okay. Figlet. Yeah, all right. Added one package. All right. That looks like it worked, didn't it? Okay. That was easy. So did you all see what I did there? npm, and it's on 2 lines too. Here, let me make this a little bigger. So npm I figlet. So give that a try. If you have our Node installed already, then you should also, if you followed the same steps and left everything as the default, you should have the npm package manager installed automatically on your machine. You got it. All right. How would we have known to do this if we weren't in the stream with you? I don't know. It's one of those things that, sometimes just unexpected things happen. I even Googled for this earlier and it seemed like it was a problem back in 2017 and they said they fixed it, but maybe they didn't. So who knows? Seeing all these errors and happening live is so true when trying to set up your dev environment at work. Yeah, all the issues always happen when you're trying to give a presentation, right? Yeah. Did you, Noah? Did you leave your existing server running? So do you have like 2 VS Code windows open, and one of them's already running the first batch of sample code, and then you're trying to run the second batch of sample code on the same port? Make sure that you kill the active server first before you try to launch a new one. All right, let's try it again. Okay. So we're gonna do node, and we're gonna do server.js. Let's try it again. Hey, look at that! No errors. So just having the little cursor just kind of hanging out down there means our server's running. So let's check it. Let's see if it worked. Hey, look at that! How cool is that? It's working. Nomad, yeah, actually, Googling errors is one of the most important things that you can do as a dev. It's a really valuable skill. Being like, what the flip is this? And then Googling it is really valuable. Yeah, I mean, Leon, and I'm sure Leon would cover this next class. I'm not sure if it's a problem on Mac though, honestly. I don't know. We'll see. First try. Yeah, indeed. You feel like such a hacker. Ah, yeah, because you are doing stuff in the terminal like an early 2000s hacker. It's great. I'm like on one of those movies where everybody wears mirrored sunglasses in the dark and leather jackets. Yeah. And if you're wondering, let's say that, okay, so we have our server up, right? And let's say that we want to end this server. Let's say that we want to cut off this server so it's not running anymore. You can do that by saying Control C on a Mac. I'm not sure that that's Command C maybe. On Windows, it's Control C. And so now if I refresh this page, it's going to time out and tell me that it's not available and you can see that I got my command prompt back. I got my little, my little command file path here back. So it's no problem on Mac. Yeah, and that's kind of what I read, is that for some reason the Mac version doesn't seem to have that issue with the Figlet thing. So that's maybe why Leon didn't know about it, because he runs a Mac. So it just could be that he doesn't know. So I'll maybe shoot him a message later. But yeah, it seems like a lot of Windows folks were having this problem. Oh, Lost One says, but we still had to npm I Figlet. Interesting. So it seems to be a crapshoot one way or the other. Some folks it worked, some folks it didn't. But I thought you were supposed to tip your servers. Yeah. Multi-hyphenate, I'm on 5500. Should I change it to 8000? I mean, 8000 is just what's in the code. So we can see down here where it says server.listen. That's where you can put in your port. And so in this case, Leon just put in 8000. I mean, there's multiple ports that you could use. In this case, he's just using 8000. Yeah. Oh, on Mac, it's also Control C. Does Mac? Okay, I really don't know anything about Macs. So they also have a Control and a Command key. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, everybody's saying they had the issue. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so now let's just check and see what exactly is this even doing. So we saw that it worked already, right? We saw that we were able to run it. And so let's walk through it and see what it's doing and how we can start to think about how we can maybe modify it to be a little cleaner and more dry. Because, I mean, there's a lot of code here, right? This is pretty long, we can see. And Leon has said that one of the things he would like us to try is making it more simplified. So we'll see if we can do that. All right, so first off, we are declaring. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so first off, we're declaring some variables, right? And these are basically the required modules. Remember, Leon talked about the module that allows us to access the network, or allows us to access browser stuff. I think we hover over this. It supports many features of the protocol which have been traditionally difficult to use. So sending messages back and forth to the browser, I think. Is what that's doing. And then FS is for file system. So we can see if we hover over it, it tells us. It enables interacting with the file system. Okay, cool. URL provides utilities for URL resolution and parsing. And then query string provides utilities for parsing and formatting URL query strings. Okay, it does say it's considered legacy, so doesn't mean we have to not use it. It's just something to consider. Might want to find an alternative. It says you should use the URL search params API. And then Figlet, the one that we had to install, there's no information about that one. It just says it's a module. So when I did some Googling earlier, it looks to be something to do with like rendering or drawing things in the browser, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't spend too much time on it actually. Yeah. Okay, so we've declared all of our variables. Now the first thing we're doing is we are initializing our server, right? We're doing a create server. We're setting a page variable that is parsing URL. We're setting some parameters, that's parsing a query. And then we're putting something in the console. So we're going to run this again and we're going to see that console log. We're going to start the server again and we'll see the console log. And then there's a bunch of if statements, ifs and else ifs, and there's a lot of them, right? We got some nested ifs, we got an else at the end. So let's see what these are doing. So it's saying, all right, so if our page variable, which we just declared up here, so some kind of request URL path name, if the page is / then read the index.html file and essentially write it to the browser and then end the request. If it's other page, which is this one right here, so by default it's going to do index. It's going to do this one. But if we've navigated to other page, where did my something there? Okay, sorry. If we've navigated to other page, then that's going to grab the other page.html and it's going to write that, do the same thing. And then if we've navigated to other page, it's going to grab that one and do the same thing. We're seeing a little repetition here, aren't we? So all these things are essentially they're performing the same action, right? So if I was trying to simplify some code, this might be okay. This might be a good candidate for some simplification, right? Um, um, napping. Just close your terminal, close your browser windows, close anything that that you might have previously executed a server on. And see if that will kill it, and then just restart the terminal and try again, maybe. Yeah, and all this stuff that says deprecated, it will still run. It's just giving you a little warning saying, hey, you might want to replace this with something else. Yeah, Rascal, and I think that's what's happening is they already have a server that's running and they're trying to start it again. So just kill the terminal, kill your browser, and try it again. Try starting over and launching the terminal again. It's not allowed, Chanel, it's not allowing you to type after using the command node server.js. Well, yeah, that's because your server's running. So if you want to kill it, you need to use Control C. So hit Control C and you should get your command prompt back. Yep. Hey, King, welcome. Yeah, Leah, that's exactly right. If Control C doesn't work, you can always manually kill it. Just close the terminal. There's a little trash can. See the little trash can icon? You can do it that way, and then start a new terminal. Um, yep. And Rascal just said the same thing there in chat. So um, we'll just pause here for a second and let folks try that as well. So yeah, trash can icon. Also, too, you can have multiple terminals running, so it's very possible that you might have more than one terminal running, and that could be causing the confusion as well. Is that you might have two terminals, stacked on top of each other. So you can see. Let's see. Forget. If I have another terminal running, yeah. So you'll get a little menu bar over here on the right if you have more than one terminal going. So just, trash them both if you have more than one and then start over if you're getting that port 8000 already in use thing. So we'll get that. Okay. Yeah. Um, okay. So let's keep going through this. So we looked up here and we saw that it's accessing, depending on which page you end up on, it is going to do something, right? But it's basically going to do the same thing each time. So if we want to dry this out, that's going to be our prime candidate for doing so, I think, is making this part, which is essentially the same action performed over and over, making that part more dry, which I think we can absolutely do. Then next here, we have another else if that's doing something slightly different. And so this is doing something related to an API, right? So I'm going to get my terminal a little smaller. And so it's doing something, right? It's checking inside of something and checking to see whether that equals Leon. And if it does, then it's going to do a write, and it's going to looks like it's building some JSON here. So we have object to JSON. And it's creating an object, right? And it's building an object that has a name of Leon, a status of boss man, and a current occupation of baller, which is pretty rad. Okay, and then in the end, what is it doing here? It's saying, okay, it's ending the request, and it's turning that JSON into a string. And then it's essentially what this is doing is it's preparing it to be tossed back so that we can use it just like we would the result of an API. So that's kind of neat, right? Essentially, it's building an API object and then tossing it back so that we can use it. And then essentially it says, all right, if student does not equal Leon, then toss back a name of unknown, a status of unknown, and an occupation of unknown. Okay, and then it's doing the exact same thing, stringifying it and tossing it back. So again, we have repetition. We have repetition that we can dry out if we want to. Okay, now what's happening next is it is we're looking at if the page is equal to our style. So this is going to be our CSS file, right? Then write CSS. But this is a little different than the ones up top. So just be mindful of that. It's not exactly the same as the fs.read file that we executed for the HTML pages. So it's slightly different. So just something to be aware of. We can deal with that later. And then we have our main.js file, which is right here, right? And this has some other code in it, which we'll look at a little bit later. And what that's doing is the exact same thing as what we saw before. It's writing it. However, it has a different type. It has a different content type. It's JavaScript, not HTML. So apparently Node needs to know what type of content you're passing it, whether that's HTML or JavaScript or CSS. And the last thing is just an else statement that throws an error, 404. So it's just our catch, right? And then in the end, we're going to write the data and then end the request for our 404. And yeah, so that's really it. So it's just doing, it's repeating the same action over and over again, right? It's just saying, all right, depending on what part of the code you're hitting, what page you're hitting at any given point or what action you're performing, it's going to essentially pass some data to the server each time and get something back, whatever that might be. So the chat's been pretty busy here, so I'm going to look through it real quick. What is res? That's a good question. So let's look up here. What is res? All right. So if we go all the way back up to the top where we set up our server, so HTTP create server, rec, and res. Now, what do you guys think those might stand for? REQ and RES. Logically, what do you think those might stand for? Oh, hey, Ria, thank you for asking. Type !Leon in the chat, and you'll get some information about the course that we're all doing together, which is called 100 Devs. Yeah, y'all got it. Request and response, right? Request and response. Yeah. So we're making a request of the server, and we're getting a response back. Yeah. So or result, maybe it's result, I don't know, but it's the same thing, right? It's a throw and a catch, right? We're tossing something out there and we're getting something back. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up through chat here a little bit, and I think we're going to take a break here pretty soon. So we're going to take a break, and then well, before we take a break, we're going to run this, and so we just talk through kind of what we think it's doing, and then we're going to run it, and we're going to see if that's true. Okay, Rascal's going a mile a minute. Thank you, Rascal. Helping folks troubleshoot. That's much appreciated. How do I open the file? Some folks need help on that. Okay, what is the question here? Let me make sure here. How do I open the file with Node to see it in the browser? So this may have already been answered, but so down here, right? Down here at the very bottom, we said server.listen 8000. So that's basically opening a window, a port where we can then tell the server where to put the stuff. And so in this case, it's on port 8000. So in our browser, we're going to go to localhost 8000. So let's just go ahead and let's just launch it here. So we're going to go node server.js. Boop. All right. And the fact that our little cursor down there is just kind of stationary means it's going. The server is running. So I'm going to refresh this. You can see I have localhost 8000. That's probably kind of hard to see. I apologize. But localhost 8000. And you can see it's running. Now, look down here. Now, you can't see that. Let me make it bigger. All right. Look down here in my terminal. See this? So we've got a /, we've got CSS style, and we've got main.js and favicon as well. But these are the things to consider here, these three right here. So that's showing that it's interacting with our server code, right? It's saying page is CSS style CSS, so it's going to run the CSS styles. So that's why, you know, our text is red and we've got our boxes and our button and it's formatted. And it's running our main JS. So this should run something when we put something in the box. And it's that little slash there means it also launched the index file, the HTML file. So we've got HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all running in this window. And we can see that here in the terminal. It's interacting with the code and it's hitting each of these conditions to write the data into the browser. Yeah. Snarfin, did you type node? Sorry, I'm a little behind in chat. Did you type node and then the file name? So you need to make sure that you are. So you need to ls and cd. So ls first to see where you are, and then cd into the appropriate directory where you want to be. So the right folder, and then say node on the appropriate file. So node and then the file name. Once after you're in the appropriate folder. So don't forget to do that. Otherwise, it won't find the file. I'm scrolling down. Scrolling down. I think this is the hottest my chat has ever been. Y'all are on fire. No, Rascal absolutely has a stream, and it's pretty fun. Rascal does really cool stuff. Do do do. Rascal says, I remember the first time working on back-end code, finding out there's basically no rules, like a deer in the headlights. But what should I do? Yeah, back-end is the Wild West, man. There ain't no rules because nobody ever sees it. You know, nobody ever sees what you do. Like where front end, you know, there's people are seeing your stuff. Whereas back end, it's just like you're under the rug, you're under the radar. Okay, Figlet fix once more. Yeah, so it's just type, yep, and thank you, Knight, for sharing that. Type npm space I space Figlet, and you got to spell Figlet right, Figlet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and for the folks that are having issues, I'm glad that I'm not glad that you're having issues, but at least it's good that you're maybe seeing these issues now versus, you know, in Tuesday's class where you end up missing the content because you can't follow along. So, hopefully this gives you some time to get them sorted out. Like, you know, Rascal says you might just delete the folders from where they're in, like in your program files, you could just delete the folders, and then try it fresh and see if that works. Yeah, definitely follow Rascal too. They also stream, so and they're great. All right. So Figlet like Piglet, yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and feels like a decent stopping point. Folks are getting themselves up to speed. They're getting themselves worked out. But last thing we're going to do before we take a break is we're just going to run this to see if it does the thing that we expect. So you got to see my email address there. That's awesome. But so we're going to type in what are we supposed to even type in here, right? There's no instructions. But when we looked at the code, we saw that it's checking for a couple things, right? It's saying if whatever this is equals Leon, then return some stuff, right? We're going to get back name, we're going to get back boss man, we're going to get back baller. However, if we type in anything else, we should get back unknown. So let's type in Leon. And then we're going to click it and we'll see what we get back. Oh, hello. We got back some stuff, right? And now look at, you probably can't see that behind my terminal again because I minimized it. But now if we look, there's an additional line that's just been added in the terminal, right? Before it was just the /, it was just CSS, main, the favicon thing. But now we have an additional line and it says /API. So, did we hit an API? We kind of did, right? Because in the code, what it's doing is it's building a little mini API. It's building an object. It's turning it into JSON. It's turning that into a string. And then it's passing it back and writing it to the DOM. Isn't that what we always do? Isn't that what we always do when we hit APIs, right? We get back some just like some JSON and it's in a string format and we kind of parse it out, right? And then we can use it and we can write it to the DOM. Neato, huh? Yeah, we did a thing. Indeed, we did. Yeah, the favicon thing, I have no idea. Who knows? I wouldn't worry about it. It doesn't seem to affect anything. Yeah, so the files right here, those are essentially the our files that we have. So we have our index right here. We have our JS main, which is right here, and we have our style, which is in our CSS folder right here. So we have our style, our JS, and our index, which is the thing represented by the forward slash. It's like the root of the web page, right? As you always on a web page, you always hit the index first, and then you can go out to other pages from there. So in that case, it's just basically showing what it's touching. It's showing what's being touched. And in this case, since we're displaying the index and it has CSS styling and it's executing some Java, it needs JavaScript to run. Then that's what's being run on the server, and that's what's showing up there. And as soon as we typed something into the box and clicked it, we hit our little mini API, got some data back. So I think that's pretty cool. No, yeah. I'm not really sure. So when you say can't open a single file, what's the problem? Like what are you seeing when you try? When you say node server.js, what do you see? Yeah, favicon. It's just a little. Yeah, it's the favicon is this little thing here, the little globe right there. That's and how some websites have something that's custom, like the Twitch logo or the Reddit logo or whatever. That's the little favicon. Yeah, right. And it's not going to open your browser automatically. You got to open a browser window and then literally type. Here, I'll even put it in chat for you. Okay, good. No, yeah, good, Noam. Sorry, I'm a little behind in chat. I'm trying to catch up. Um, localhost 8000. That'll do it. VS Code live server spoiling us. Yeah, it's a little manual, isn't it? Yep. Okay. Um, so I hope everybody's in a decent state now, or at least most of y'all are. Let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look at the code a little bit more. We're going to understand a little bit more of what exactly it's doing. And then we're going to see about modifying it and making it do what we want it to do versus just what it's currently doing. So we're going to start doing some modifications when we get back. Too used to live server? Yeah, I guess that's why, I'm kind of too. And that's, I guess, why Leon says, to try to avoid using it, just because if you get to a live coding interview, you might panic and forget what's happening and be like, why doesn't anything work? And then it's just because you didn't reload the page, right? Yeah. Yeah. Some of the issues do sound like folks still have a terminal going. So I would suggest, again, click the trash can in your current terminal. Make sure you don't have any other VS Code windows open. Do you have any other VS Code windows open that you might be running a terminal in? Kill all the terminals. Just trash can, and then try it again. Yeah. All right. Let's set a timer going and give folks a little bit of chance to work through the kinks. 5 minutes. I'm gonna go feed my dogs, and then we'll reconvene. Sound good? And I'll read through the chat when I get back. Okay, let me get the timer pulled up. Just do it in here. 5-minute timer. Okay. All right, make it bigger. Turn off the beeper so it doesn't beep at you if I'm late coming back. And here we go. 5 minutes. All right, we've got about a minute left. Come on back when you're ready. The dogs have been dinnered, so I'm ready to go again. Hope y'all are too. Some good discussion going on in the chat. Okay, looks like Snarfin got themselves sorted out. They're good. Great. That is really good to see. Thanks, Rask, for helping them out. Awesome possum. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop it. 6 seconds left, but we'll make that time up. All right, let's minimize this and minimize this and get back to what we were doing. Yeah, all right. So let's just do a quick review for the folks that might have just joined us or might still be having trouble. Oh, I need to turn my webcam back on. I always forget to do that. Okay, so and if you're still having trouble, like if you're just not able to figure it out and the stream isn't helping, that's okay. On Tuesday, Leon is really going to be covering this stuff a lot more. So don't panic. It's all good. You're going to have way more chances to get this working. So if you absolutely can't get it working, don't freak out. Leon is going to be covering this much more. He spent out of like 3 hours. He only had time to spend like 20 minutes on this in the last stream. So totally understandable if you're not able to get it first try. I would be like, panic later. Absolutely. 20 minutes is not enough to fully cover something as monumental as what we're doing here. So, and that's just because he didn't have time, right? So he's going to cover it on Tuesday. So don't freak out. But I'm going to kill this server. So I'm going to kill our existing server and we're going to do it again. We're just going to launch it one more time, just for folks that may have just joined us. All right. So, and how do I kill the server? And so, okay, how do I know the server is running? I see that my little cursor here is off to the left and I don't have any sort of prompt. So that indicates that something is happening, something is ongoing currently. And so I can kill that, which is my server. I can kill my server by hitting Control C. And you can see as soon as I do that, my command prompt comes back, right? Now, if I want to launch the server again, I say, so first I make sure I'm in the right folder. So I do an ls, and that shows me everything that's in here in this currently in this folder. And I want to run my node server off of the file that's called server.js. And so in order to do that, I type node space server.js. And as soon as I do that, I can see that my little cursor goes back to stationary and there's no prompt. So that means my server is running. And then in my browser, I go and I type in localhost 8000 because that's the port that we're currently on. Now, how do I know which port I'm on? I go down to the very bottom of the code and I see that I have server.listen 8000. So that tells me the port. And so I can go to localhost 8000 and run that. And I can see that it's brought up the page for me with all the styling. And then if I enter Leon and I click it, I get back the information that I expect. So that means everything's working properly. Okay. Rascal 2. I'm using Vim now. Everybody should be using Vim. Don't worry about Vim. Y'all don't need Vim. Not at this point. Maybe later, someday. It's where our programmers go, never to be seen again. I would agree. Nobody knows how to exit Vim. It's a myth. Yeah, don't worry too much about it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Just use the console, use the terminal, use whatever you're using to run Git. Just use that for now. Okay, so where are we at? So we just restarted our server just for folks that might have just joined us. And so now we've already kind of gone through what this server file is doing, right? And essentially to boil it down, what it's doing is it's basically saying, all right, depending on which page we're on, which information is being passed into the server, it's telling the server what to deliver back. So in this case, when we open this port, when we navigate to this port, to this page, this index HTML page, it needs to also deliver the CSS and the JavaScript. And so that's what's happening here. It's delivering all those things together to appropriately display the page. And when I type something into the box and I click me, then it's also hitting an API, which is an API that we actually build in the code. So we're building our own API server side, and we're tossing the information back and displaying it in the DOM, which is pretty darn cool. Now, how do I know that that's what's happening? So we can see that by going to our other JavaScript file. So let's see, where am I? So we're currently in our server.js. This is where we're currently, right? We're in all the things that our server is supposed to be doing, right? We're passing to Node. Now, I'm going to go up to the main.js file. This is the JavaScript file that executes in the way that we're used to. You write your JavaScript and it just runs in the browser, right? Versus on the server. So this is our regular JavaScript. Now, if we look at this, let's see if we can figure out what's happening here. So in our main.js, we have an event listener, right? We have a Smurf, and it happens on the click of the button. So it happens on our click, when we click our click me button, it's going to run a function called make rec, right? And here, what is this? Look at this. We have an async function. Now, we just learned about async functions here in like the last week or so, right? And async, it essentially kind of helps us simplify like promises a little bit and make them easier to read. So in this case, we're declaring this function is asynchronous so that we can do stuff inside the function to make things happen in a certain order. So what's happening? So okay, we're declaring some variables. We have one called username. It's grabbing a value from something with the ID of username, and what that's essentially doing is it's grabbing the value from inside of our little input box. So we have an input box with an ID of username, and it's grabbing that value, whatever the user puts in when that button is clicked, when the click me button is clicked. It's grabbing out the name of the user and storing it as a value. Now what's happening here? We have a fetch. Now we normally use fetch for APIs, right? We use fetch to hit APIs, but I don't see a URL in here anywhere. So what are we doing? We're essentially hitting an API that we're also constructing on the server. That's why I mentioned earlier, how do I know that that's what we're doing in our server code? We're building an API, we're creating an object, turning it into JSON, and then passing it back. And that's literally what it's saying here. So it says, okay, we're going to fetch something. We're going to wait for that fetch to be done. We got a wait. And then we're going to have some data that comes back from that fetch, and where it's going to be, we're expecting JSON data to come back from the fetch. And then we're going to console log that data. And then what we're doing here is we're essentially writing the contents of that fetch, just like we've done a bunch of times before. Every time we hit an API, we parse, we dig into that data dot something to grab an element, and we're writing it to specific parts of the DOM, just like H2s or whatever. They're probably H2s. We're writing them to specific parts of the DOM. So here we're executing a fetch. But the main difference here from what we've done before is that we're hitting an API that we are also building. Previously we've always hit APIs that other people have built. This is the first step to us building our own stuff, our own, like repositories of data, that we can then hit and fetch at will. What I want to make my own? Yeah, we are going to make our own API. Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a self-referencing API. Yeah. I mean, we're building it and then immediately fetching from it, right? That's not always going to be the case. Eventually, like for your apps and stuff, you're going to be building an API of custom data and custom properties and objects that you're probably going to fetch from, a bunch of different times and have outside people fetch from as well. So this is just the very first teeny little step in that process. Okay, so let's look, and that was a good question. So let's look at our index.html really quickly. And somebody asked, Gold Spy, yeah, Gold Spy, good question. They asked, so is there two script tags for both the main.js and the server.js files? No, there's only a script tag for the main.js. Now, why would that be? Well, what does this HTML file actually care about? It doesn't care where it's being displayed. It could be just like, in a regular browser. It could be, on somebody else's server. It could be on your server. It doesn't care. It just needs to know like what JavaScript it needs to interface with. And in this case, it's just the main.js. It doesn't care about all that server information. So we're running Node against that server.js file. The HTML doesn't care about it. So in this case, it only cares about the regular JavaScript that it is interfacing with directly. Yep. The HTML only is linked to the main.js. It has no access to the server.js file directly. Absolutely. We have the power. Indeed, we do. Yeah, this is our first taste of real power, I think. Building your own data storage, essentially, right? Your own read-write actions, which is pretty rad. Hello, Tony. Welcome. Thanks for joining the stream. We're having a lot of fun with Node.js so far. We've installed it. We've installed it. We've run stuff on it. We've figured out what it's doing, and pretty soon we're going to start modifying it. Yeah, server.js is just its own little file. Exactly, because it's all it has inside of it is basically just like server specific commands. Like when a certain page is touched, what does the server need to do? What data does it need to send back? What does it need to write to the browser? So, yeah, it's essentially what's happening there. Okay, so brief pause. What questions do we have? Is anybody like super lost? Need me to go over anything again before we start actually like modifying this existing code? What do y'all think? What's the object to JSON in the server? Oh, okay. So let's go down here. Yeah. So if we look here, so it says if page is API. All right. So what does that mean? So if page equals API, well, if you recall back here in our main.js, folder, there was something about that, right? We saw that. So it says await fetch API student equals username. So where we would normally put a URL, we just have /API, right? But we've got our server configured to handle that. It knows, we've essentially told it what to do when it reads in this page name. So minimize that. So if I go back to my server here, when it says, oh, page is API, well, then what does it do? It essentially says, hey, okay, what did they pass in? So we passed a username of some kind via that URL, and it's whatever username the person entered in this little box here. So if we enter Leon, it's going to pass Leon into this if statement. Okay, so if parameter student equals Leon, and we saw that that's what happened, right? That's what we passed in our main.js. We passed in student equals Leon. So that's true. That's what we typed in the box. So what happens when it says, yeah, actually they did pass in saying something student equals Leon? Well, okay, what is it going to do? It's going to write something, and the content type is going to be JSON. Now, we most commonly associate JSON with APIs, right? It's going to write some JSON. And we're essentially creating an object here, and it's going to convert it to JSON specifically because that's what we expect when we hit an API. I mean, it can be other things, but in this case, we're converting it to JSON, and we're giving it a property of name Leon, a status of boss man, and a current occupation of baller. So we're writing some JSON on the fly here. It wasn't already there. We are writing it. And then we're turning it into a string. Essentially, we're creating a string as our result, okay? And we're ending the request. So what that's going to do then, so we now have some JSON and it's in a string. And actually, let's see, I wonder, has this been writing to the console? I'm just going to see. Yeah, so look at that. That's really small. Hang on, let me make it bigger. Why is that so small? Okay. There, that should be, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so essentially what happens is so this is what we're getting back then. When we hit that API, we're getting back all these things. So I'm going to go back to my main.js file here. And right, so we fetched from the API, and on the server side, it said, oh crap, it's Leon. I have to build an object real quick. It built the object. It turned it into JSON. And it's ready. It's got it. It's ready to get it. And that fetch is then going to say, all right, do you have the object ready for me? And the server is going to say, why, yes, I do. Here it is. Thank you very much. And then our fetch says, awesome. I'm going to take that from you. Okay. And then it grabs it. And then we're essentially going to we're going to take all that data that we got back from our API that we just hit, and we're telling it what to await. Our result is going to be JSON, and so we're going to assign it to data, and then we're going to console log that data, and that's clearly showing us that what we got back was that object that we just built on the server side, right? And then we can pull that object apart just like we have done a jillion times before. On whenever we hit any regular API, we can pull it apart and assign it to various locations in the DOM. Okay. Hopefully that helps. That was a really long answer, but I felt like I needed to just go through the process there and kind of explain how this is very similar to the things we've seen before when we hit APIs. The main difference is that we're making our own data now. Muckety muck, is Figlet just server code then? Well, it's a module. It's a module related to Node, and so you just need to install it if you get an error. So you can just do npm space I space Figlet, and that should install it for you. I don't know why it doesn't self-install. It's just one of those things. Stuff happens. Having to come up with this code on my own is daunting eventually when I create my own projects. That's the thing. You don't have to come up with all your own code from scratch. I would recommend against it. Find code snippets. That's why Leon gives us all these snippets. I use for almost every, you've seen all the different projects that I do on stream, right? For almost every single project that I do, I'm starting with a base code snippet of some kind that already does what I want to do. Whether that's just hitting an API, I would start with the basic API code that Leon gave us, and then I would modify that. I'm not writing that from scratch. Who needs that? I'm going to take stuff, either something I've already written, something Leon's already written, and use it as a base, and then add features and change things as needed. It's much easier to start with something that already works, and then pull it apart, add stuff, delete stuff until you get what you want. I wouldn't start from scratch ever, especially as things get more complex. Yeah, and Rascal gives a good point. There's really no standard template for backend stuff. There's things that people do a lot. But I mean, in general, and most employers are going to have their own standards. They'll probably have a standards manual of some kind. I know my employer does. And some of the stuff that I have to do, I have to write my code a certain way for work. It's maybe not necessarily the way that I would do it if I was writing my own code, but them's the rules. And so I follow the rules. Jam says, thanks for this. I have to get going. Oh, yeah, no problem at all. See you soon. Looks like you'll be on for another hour and a half. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to make predictions because I seem like I'm always wrong. So I guess you'll see how long the VOD is later. Why is some of the code in server.js formatted with a strike through? If you hover over that strike through, it should tell you. It'll tell you that those certain like methods and things are deprecated, meaning that they're no longer considered good practice to use. Does that mean that you can't use them? Heck no, you can still use them. It's just going to recommend against using them for certain reasons. And if you hover over them, it should tell you why those may not be best practice, but nothing's going to stop you from using them. So we should keep it in this particular code snippets. Is it safe to remove altogether? Oh, I would keep it in for now because we don't know what any of this stuff is, and you need those. You need those things that have the strike throughs. You need those to like parse your URL and to make all this work. So don't worry about deleting them. I'm sure we'll learn alternatives as we go. Just make it work for now. And we don't know enough yet to get slicey dicey. What's the fillet? You heard the word prediction, my channel points already. Oh my goodness. Oh man. If I start if I might start a riot if I start doing predictions on how long my streams are gonna last. Y'all are gonna be doing all sorts of dirty tricks to keep me talking longer or get me to end sooner. One of the two. Don't just use snippets without understanding what they do. You might introduce bugs in your code. Okay, personal opinion here, but that's part of learning to me is you start using snippets that you find on Stack Overflow, and you may not understand what every single line is doing, but somebody on Stack Overflow said it should do the thing that you're trying to do, and so you drop it into your code, you run it, you get an error. Okay, you read the error and you say, oh yeah, I forgot to change the variable name. Okay, and then you run it again, maybe you get another error and you change your variable name there, and then all of a sudden you run it again and it works. And then after it works, then you go through and you understand, oh, okay, I see why that worked. I see why that did what it did. Maybe you add some console logs in there. To me, using snippets like that, I find, rather than just coding every single line, for me, using snippets that are unfamiliar to me, that I may have a slight like gist of what they are, that's how I learn. That's how I get ahead. But of course, personal preference. You may think, you may learn better by just writing everything out. But personally, how I learn new ways of doing things, maybe better ways of doing things, is by Googling those types of questions, grabbing snippets and getting them running and then seeing why they run. But hey, like, like Rascal was saying, it's the Wild West, right? Everybody has their own opinions on the best ways to do things, but there's really no hard and fast rules unless your employer mandates how you're supposed to do something. I've seen some wild stuff out there. VSC just crashed. Ooh, that's no good. Uh, for learning, yeah, but not in a company. Oh no, no, man. I never write stuff from scratch at work. So I'm a developer right now. I never write crap from scratch. There's always a code snippet out there in the repository, in the company repository, that you can just grab and tweak. I mean, a lot of what you're going to do for company work is going to be, unless you're like, I don't know, making like a cutting edge game or something like that, a lot, you're going to be doing some repetitive work, stuff that you just got to get done, or you're going to be hitting the same data source over and over again, or, especially on the back end, you're going to be doing some repetition. And so in that case, you can be like, hey, Gary, I saw you just did a similar query last week. Where's that code saved? And you just grab it and then you modify it. At least in my experience. I'm not coding stuff from scratch unless I'm writing like queries to like troubleshoot stuff. I mean, really, I'm just grabbing an existing template and modifying it. Of course, I know what it's going to do. That's how I know. Part of it is knowing which template to grab, which template is the right one. But why write it from scratch if it's already there? So you're saying you mindlessly copy code from the internet into your company's code base? No, no, no. Part of being part of having that knowledge is you know, knowing when to copy and when to not copy, but you shouldn't. It's just having some common sense about like what you're looking at. And a lot of times you're just going to be copying, a few lines at a time, and then before your code goes to production, if you're working for a good company, they're going to have some kind of peer review process. But devs Google every day, multiple times to figure out how to do stuff, and so it's really important to know how to do that. Or like GitHub Copilot write it for you. Absolutely. I haven't tried that yet. I haven't tried Copilot. Um, yeah, take the code snippets apart. Absolutely. You can learn to do stuff, some really cool stuff that way. Yep, you got to work smarter, not harder. Absolutely. Okay, working now. Good. All right. So let's. Am I working full stack? No, I am currently a backend developer. I do SQL code, which is a database language. So I have never done any front end stuff or mid tier stuff before 100 devs. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I've never done that before. I do SQL in my day job, SQL, however you want to say it. We say SQL, but yeah, I do exclusively database work. Okay, so we've seen what this can do. Now let's see how we can mess around with it. Um, so for those of you who were here earlier, oh, Palmy Tree, welcome. It's a raid, hooray. How are y'all doing? Palmy, what were you doing on your stream today? We are currently we've installed Node.js and we're just messing around with it. We've run a little bit of code. We're seeing how Node works, what it's doing, and we're just getting ready to modify some sample code to see what else we can do. Welcome. Oh, posture check. Yeah, all right. Oh man, my neck just cracked like gravel. That's probably not a good thing. I can stand up a little straighter. Yeah, I tend to hunch. It's probably not going to be good later on. All right, I'm going to hydrate as well. Rascal, does literally everyone know you? I think they do. Um, Rascal has has a wide reaching network. Okay, so let's go back to our server.js, and take another look at it here. So now that we kind of know what it's doing, it's basically saying, hey, depending on which page we're hitting, we're telling the server what to write into the browser, what to display, which files to access, that kind of thing. And if it's an API hit, what object to build, and then to what object to send back to us. So this code right now is pretty repetitive, as we already kind of noticed. So I'm sure there's ways that we could simplify this and make it more dry. It's not going to be perfect; it never is. But let's take a crack at it, because that was Leon's first assignment, right? Leon's first assignment was take this code and see if you can simplify it a little bit. And specifically, we are, and for those of you who might be a little turned around, or specifically, if you're following along, we are in the Node backend simple JSON file that Leon provided in the class 35 materials. So we are in the Node backend simple JSON file, and we are not in the Node intro demo. That was the really simple little one. We're in the more complex one, which is the Node backend simple JSON. And we're in the server.js file. Okay. Rascal says, I'm always lurking. You never know where he is. He's always there. Yes, and again, welcome, Raiders. Thank you for stopping in. Okay, so again, looking at this, we can see that there's some repetition here, right? We have this read file statement, and then just a little bit farther down, we essentially have the same read file statement. It's just hitting another file, right? And then again, a third time, we have the same read file statement. Okay. And then we have the API doing stuff. We're going to skip that for now. But then again, down here for the main.js, we have the same read file method. and then it's over. And we also have a lot of ifs here, right? We have a lot of if statements, and then we have a lot of nested ifs, and it's very hard to follow. So we may want to also think about simplifying that as well. But first things first, I think the low hanging fruit here is these repeated fs.read file, fs.read file, fs.read file. I think we can take care of that. If we want to take an action and make it only write it once, but make it repeatable, that we could use it over and over again, what could I do with this? With any action that I want to write it once and make it reusable, what would I do? Yeah, make a function. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to make it into a function. Yep. Yeah, we're going to make it a function that we can just call and pass in some parameters. So, cool. So obviously we're gonna make it into a function. But what should our parameters be? What do you guys think? Just looking at these three examples right here of read file, what do y'all think our parameters should be? This function. Yep, I'm seeing page is one. Yep. So essentially that would be the page that we're going to display, right? What do you think the other one should be? File. And yeah, I mean, I've seen a variety of opinions here. I'll tell you what I thought the other parameter should be. You can disagree with me if you want. I thought the other parameter should be the content type. Um, and it's text. This is a bit of a trick question. I apologize. This was text for all three of these. But um, if we go down here, the content type is different. It's not always text. Um, so I'm thinking everything else is always the same. It's so other than the page name, at least at this point, we're keeping everything else the same. And the only two things that change are the page name and um, the content type. So I'm thinking those will be our two parameters. However, you could write this differently if you wanted to, obviously. Oh, Palmy, you have to run, but it was a pleasure meeting you. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, feel free to stop in anytime. I'll have to raid you sometime if we see you're on. I'll have to give you a follow so I can see when you're on. I can raid you at some time. Yeah, so parameters. If that's a good question, El Toro. So when you're building a function, parameters are generally going to be the things that are going to vary. That you're going to want to vary your input. So everything else in the function, is going to be fairly static because it's going to be reusable, right? You can have different things that happen depending on the inputs, but the parameters are the way that you're going to control the outcome of that function. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we go with function, we don't need the if else. Well, we we may. It depends on how we write things. So let's keep it simple for now, and we're going to functionize. This stuff that we know we can functionize, functionalize. I don't know. So all this stuff right here. So let's turn this into let's bundle this up into a function. Oh, hydrate. Thank you, Trisha. You're watching out for me. Okay. So I'm just going to grab this, and where am I going to put it? Well, you might think, okay, you're declaring all your variables up here, so why don't you put your function up here? Well, if I try that, it's not going to work because we have to create the server first before we can start doing these like read file stuff after that. So it has to be inside of our create server function because we have to create the server before we can start doing stuff to it and passing information to it. So we're gonna put our function up here. Put some spaces. We'll just paste this here for now. We're gonna have to do some stuff to this, but I'm just grabbing this so we have it. Yeah, Rascal, we are actually, and yeah, I did the same thing. We're going to keep the branching logic. We're going to modify it though to make it cleaner. I think you still need some kind of a logic tree in order to make this work. But what this is going to do is it's going to reduce that repetition. Um, yeah. Okay. So sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes. Make sure I don't lead you astray. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have a new function, and I'm going to call that function just something that I know what it is. It doesn't matter what we call it. I'm going to call it read write. And again, you can declare this in various different ways. I'm going to make it into an arrow function just because I need more practice with arrow functions. So I'm going to have a new arrow function. It's going to be called const read write, and I'm going to have my two parameters, and we essentially said what those two parameters are. I called it file and content type. And again, when you are creating parameters, you can call them whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's going to accept whatever you call them. It's just going to be whatever you pass in that order. It's expecting two arguments to be passed in to match those parameters. So const read write, I called it file, which is going to be like index.html or style.css or main.js. That's going to be passed in here. And content type is going to be like text/HTML, JS, CSS, whatever. So that's what's going to be passed in here. Now, we have file, content type, and then since I'm making this an arrow function, I make my arrow. And then you can still do brackets with arrow functions. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to enclose this whole thing in brackets. And now I have made a function. So we can call read write whenever we want. And we're going to pass in file and content type. Now I need to replace the appropriate things inside of my function to make them to allow us to pass the parameters in at the appropriate places. So in this case, I'm going to take index.html out of here, and I'm going to replace it with file. And so that's going to pull in whatever file we give it, whether that's index.html, main.js, whatever. And then it's going to do this write stuff. And then I'm also going to change the content type from a hard-coded text/HTML to just, oops, not data. Sorry, content type. Yeah. So that's going to allow us to call this function and pass in whatever we want and still get the appropriate result. Okay. Super mug, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Even though the if-else logic remains for now, um, foreshadowing, the use of the function makes it way more readable and concise. Absolutely. Again, we're getting rid of the repetition by doing this. Okay, so now I can leverage this function that I just wrote, and we're going to start replacing some stuff. So let's go down to the first if, and we're not changing this right now. We're just going to leave the if-else logic as is, but instead of writing this whole fs.read file thing, we're just going to call our new function on this. So I know I'm going to be passing in index.html. So I'm just going to say, all right, and I'm going to delete this in a second. I'm just referencing it for now. So I'm going to call read write, and my two parameters that I'm going to pass in, or my two arguments, I'm sorry, is index.html and my content type in this case, which is text/HTML. Okay, now I can get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines and replace them with 1. I'm just calling the function. So before we get too crazy here, let's test that out and make sure that it works the way we expect. I think it should. Jura, should I install Node with Chocolatey or without it? I mean, I had that question earlier. I don't think it's going to hurt anything if you do install it with Chocolatey. I think it just allows you to maybe install some other modules and stuff later, or access uh, like install like apps and stuff like outside of Node itself. It won't matter for this exercise. Do quotes need to be included as argument? Yes, because in this case, our content type needs to be a string. So we want to give it a string. That's what it's expecting, is it needs strings, and so that's what we're going to give it. Muckety Muck already lost. Is there anything I can do to help? What are you lost on? Wolfman, yeah, there's tons of different package managers out there, right? I think we should stick with the defaults for now, just because we're all so new to Node. I wouldn't maybe get too crazy just yet. I'm sure, if you want to branch out later to different managers that may be better, you can. I wouldn't get too crazy just yet, because if you get too crazy now, then folks won't be able to help you if you're having a problem. It does sound delicious, right? Okay. So what are we doing, right? We have our function. We've written it up here, and now we can call it repeatedly. So we're going to call it again down here, right? We're going to get rid of this whole read file statement, and we're going to replace it with a function call. So again, getting rid of another 5 lines of code and replacing it with one. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm just going to copy paste, and then we're going to change out the appropriate arguments. So this time we're hitting other page HTML, and we can leave the content type the same. Looks so much better already. All right, our third else if, we're going to again call read write with slightly different arguments. We're going to call other page. And again, text HTML, that's all we need to do. Another 5 lines down. And actually, I forgot to test this. I was going to test this and I forgot. So, all right, we've replaced the first 3. Let's test it and see if it works. I tend to do that. I get ahead of myself. And then I'm 30 lines in and I haven't tested anything. All right, so I'm going to kill the server. I'm going to relaunch it. So I've saved, and I'm going to Control C to kill the server. And then I'm going to launch it fresh. Server.js, so it's grabbing the latest version. Okay, and now if everything's working as expected, once I input Leon, we shouldn't see anything different. It should behave exactly the way we think it is. All right, so Leon, I can't spell, Leon. Hey, it still works. So even though we got rid of all that code, it still works the way we expect, right? That's what using offloading, using helper functions can do for you. It can eliminate a bunch of redundant code, and first try, indeed. It can eliminate a bunch of redundant code and make things much easier to read. Now, this if statement is still pretty clumsy, right? But at least it's easier to read. And we're gonna keep iterating through this a little bit as we go. Okay, and let's just check the console and make sure that the object is doing what we expect. And yep, it is. The object still looks correct. So everything's still correct, right? We didn't break anything. That's always a plus. Okay, so let's keep making changes. So we've done the index, the other page, and the other page. So that takes care of all the HTML. Let's skip the API for now. So we're going to skip this whole else. We're gonna skip this whole big chunk of else just for now. We're going to come back to it, but let's keep doing the stuff that the same kind of thing we've already been doing. Yeah, we haven't done Express yet. That's a good question, though. We're just doing vanilla right now. We're gonna get to Express very soon. Yep. Server failed to respond. Did you launch it again? Did you say node server.js? Because if you killed your local host, then you need to make sure you did node space server.js after you killed it the first time. Because yeah, you'll get that message, no response if your server isn't running. Yeah. Okay. So let's look down here. Now again, we see some familiar phrases, right? We see that read file again. So you might be tempted just to replace this with our function, with our read write function, right? But it's slightly different. There's no write head in this CSS file. There's nothing about write head here. So we're not going to be able to touch this one right now. So we're going to have to skip this one, but that's okay. It's only 4 lines. However, if we go down here to the JavaScript, this does match the pattern, right? This does match the pattern of our read write function, the same 5 lines. So we can replace this one. So we can do, oops, sorry, I'm gonna grab it again. We're gonna do read write, and we can do the same thing for our JavaScript. So I'm gonna grab java.js/main.js, put that in there. Now, look at the content type. It's slightly different. So we need to pass in not HTML, but JavaScript as the content type, so the server knows what it is. Okay, and now we can get rid of these lines as well. Hooray, 5 more lines gone. And then at the end here, we just have, basically a catch, right? We're catching errors here. And I mean, we could probably simplify this, but I'm going to leave this part alone for now, so that make sure we catch errors appropriately if we get them. Heading to MCD to get some drink and continue the stream on phone. Let's go. Yeah, when Leon does those super reviews, that's what I do. I put it on my phone, just like you can make streams audio only on the Twitch app. And I'll just like walk. I'll just be like walking for miles with my dog and like listening to the super review, because I ain't sitting for that long. My muscles would atrophy. Yeah, already so much easier to read, right? Yeah, and we haven't really done that much. We just got started. So get your orders in, folks. Almost at the window. Are you Twitch chatting while driving? Come on, man. Oh. Okay, just Dairy Queen jokes. Oh boy. Okay, so I think this was a pretty good first pass. So we simplified a lot. I think we got rid of about 20 lines of code, which is pretty good for a first pass, I would say. Maybe 15 lines, I'm not sure. But yeah, we got rid of plenty of lines of code. So, and it still works. We tried it. And so that's good. Now let's think about how we can maybe simplify this even more. So I'm kind of looking at this API else if. Now look at this right here. We have an else if, then we have an if, then we have another if, and then we have an else if. And I'm still seeing some repetition here, right? I'm seeing repetition. I'm seeing, checking a parameter, doing a write, and it's the same type of write, and then doing the same object to JSON. What it's doing is it's just writing different properties to that JSON object. So yeah, I think we could simplify this as well. Let's see, what time is it? All right, we got 2 minutes. Okay. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to simplify this API call. Okay, I'm just checking here. In the line, not driving. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, thank you for the bits so much. Wow. Modab Dilbari, thank you so much for the bits. I really appreciate it. Great having you here. Okay. How do I refresh the Node server? I mean, I don't know if this is the best way, but just do Control C to kill it, and then just initialize it again. Node, and then the file name. Just do Control C and then Node file name, and then that, after you save it, and if you make a change and save it, and then that's what I do. Again, I don't know if it's the best way, but we can turn it into a one-liner if we try hard enough. A really long one-liner, maybe, yeah. So yeah, look, you should all have the files, right? So you can maybe think about this, what we can maybe do. There's a lot of different ways that we could do it. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on what we want to do, right? So let's take 5 minutes. I'm gonna let my dogs out, and then I will come back shortly. Show them the magic of Nodemon, maybe. Actually, so I'm new to Node as well, so I don't know what any of those are. All I know is vanilla. This is lesson 1 on nodes for me as well. I have the advantage of portal shirt. Yeah, It's a portal and a TARDIS. Super nerdy. Yeah, it's got the person going in the portal on one side and coming out the TARDIS. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get the timer going again. Yeah, I'm pretty much I'm like I said, I'm a JavaScript Node like complete newbie. I just I just know how to make myself sound like I'm ahead of y'all. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, let's reset the timer and we'll go again. I'm usually only like one step ahead of y'all at any given point. Okay, and here we go. All right, I'll see you guys back here shortly. Oh, the first function? Oh, you mean like the original one? Yeah, let's here. I'll make the timer smaller, and I'll scroll up to the function. There you go. The read write function is right here. Okay. There we go. That way you guys can still see it and you can still look at the function if you need it. Okay. Oop. What did I do? I broke it. Okay. There we go. Okay, we're back. All right, I'll see you guys back here shortly. Okay, we got about a minute left. I'm actually going to add maybe like 1 minute to the timer. My my old dog had a little bit of a mess that I need to clean up. So just give me one more minute. I'm going to add one more minute to the timer and then I'll see you back. Okay, now y'all should start coming back. Almost about 30 seconds left. Looks like folks are getting themselves figured out here. Yeah, all else fails and everything goes wrong and it doesn't seem to be working at all. You can always go back and download the original files again, and just kind of start from scratch if you need to. It's no big deal. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And we'll see if we can make this more dry. Yeah, Snarfin, at this point, you may just want to re-download. Just replace the file with the one from the Discord, in your directory, and just maybe start fresh. All right, here we are again. Okay. Actually, let me go shut that door. 2 seconds. All right. Yeah, have to shut the door into mystery, otherwise, all the mystery could get out. I don't know. The mysterious door, the Mayan Wolf verse lore continues to expand. Yep, the door to mystery. Okay. Yeah, no problem at all, Noam. I'm glad you're able to attend. And really, like the meat of it, like we've gotten it working, right? We're just polishing, spit and polish, right? We're making it dry, and then we're going to add our coin flip as well. So we were looking at the API section, right? And we were seeing that before the break, we were seeing that in this API if statement, there's some stuff going on, and there's seems to be multiple nested if statements and some repetition going on. And so we can see that there's this res write head and this const object to JSON, and that seems to be repeated, right? It seems to be repeated in both. So we want to get this down so it's only really performing this action once. And so we could do that a variety of ways. In this case, it's already kind of inside of it's already kind of encapsulated inside of something else. So I don't think we necessarily want to put this into a function or something. I do think we only want to get it down to one. So we can kind of control what we pass in to this object, into this basically into this object. We can control what's being written to that object by maybe setting some variables. We could do that. So, and we can see really what controls what's being written to that object is essentially if the name that's being passed in is Leon or it's not, right? So, essentially, we could probably take this and get rid of this second right statement. And I'm going to do this wrong probably. I'm going to make sure I pay attention to my brackets. Okay, we'll start with that. And let's just make it so we only have to build this object, like we only have one object build statement, okay? So instead of putting this inside of the if statement, I think we're going to use the if statement to declare some variables first and then write the object and stringify it afterwards. So I'm going to take this out and rid of that comment there. We're just going to do the write once, and we're going to be writing some things as variables, I think. So we're going to have, we're going to be writing like a person name, a person status, and a person occupation. And we're going to set those variables, excuse me, got to hydrate. We're going to set those variables inside of our if statement. Excuse me. Okay. So, and again, there's a few different ways we could do this. How I might do it is I might declare the variables first. Let person name, I'm going to set it as unknown by default because in the majority of cases, that's what's going to be, right? If I type in anything else other than Leon, it's going to show up as unknown. So let person name equals unknown. Can't spell, unknown. And let person occupation equals unknown. And let person status equals unknown as well. Now, only in the very rare case that student is Leon, then we get to set person name equals Leon, person occupation equals, what was it, baller? Boss man, sorry. Boss man. And person status equals baller. Yeah. Okay. You feel unknown sometimes too. Yeah, I think we all do at some point. What kind of pup do I have? I have two dogs. I have one is a greyhound. He's very old, hence the occasional mess. And then I have a younger dog who is a standard poodle who's on the rug behind me. You can't see him. But yeah, his name is Ben. So yeah, I have two large dogs in a very small house, which is an adventure. Oh, yada yada, thank you. I am well. You muted the tab. Whoops. Oh, Tricia. Oh, good. I'm glad this is helpful. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're essentially we're setting these as unknown by default, and then only if it's Leon do we actually update these to be something else, and then we only do this write. We only do the write and the stringify once, and we set them to the appropriate variables. And so I feel like this does make it easier to read. I think we could simplify this even more. I think we could probably declare these like all together and set them all to the same value. I do believe we could do that, but I don't want to get things too confusing. We think we could make this into a one-liner here, but I'm not gonna get too crazy. And so we're building our object like this. And then we're only writing it and stringifying it once, or only stating that once. So let's make sure it works. Whoops. Let's make sure it works. I'm going to save it. I'm going to Control C, and then I'm going to initialize it again. Okay, and it's running again. I'm going to reload. Yep, still works. Cool. Always good to check. What was done just prior to setting let person occupation status? I got rid of there used to be an additional write statement here, so this was all inside of like a if else, and the write statement was done twice, one for if it was Leon and one for if it was everybody else. And so I got rid of that extra write statement, that repeated write statement, and just moved it down to one. Now the only if is right here. It's only checking to see if it's Leon. Then change these values, change these variable values. If not, they're all going to stay as unknown. And two, also, I mean, debatably, you could probably also get rid of this if statement on the outside here. So this if student in params, because, I mean, debatable, but because there's no else here. So at this level, see the yellow bracket? See where that closing bracket is? There's no else here. So if student is not in params, it's not telling it to do anything else, right? So it'll fail anyway. So I'm not sure. I mean, this is probably best practice to keep it. I think in mine I actually took it out and it didn't make any difference. So we could. I mean, let's YOLO it. It's not going to hurt anything. Let's take that out. All right. So because there was no alternative, if student was not in params, it would just skip the whole thing, and it wouldn't give us what we wanted anyway. If student is not a parameters, it will run now, yeah, but it's not going to know what to give us back, right? And since we're passing in like we're passing in a, where is it? I'm sorry. We're passing in a hard code. Student is hard coded, right? So there's no option to change this. So I think it will work as expected, but let's try it. Okay. Reload. Okay, so it still works. Good. Yeah. So it works as expected, right? If I type in my own name, I get unknown just as I expected. Because the URL itself is hard coded, I don't think we need that additional check. However, if you could have a more flexible URL, then yeah, you would need that check for the student parameter. But in this case, it's hard coded, so I don't think we need it. Still debatable. Okay. Ice cream machine is working. Of course it is when I don't want ice cream. All right. Yeah, it's still and it will work fine. Yeah, because there's no the URL is itself hard coded. The URL is never going to change. Just the name that we pass in is the only thing that can be different the way this is currently written. Yep. Don't be talking about ice cream in my chat when I'm standing up here unable to procure myself any ice cream. Come on. Just flaunting it now. Oh, well, it's okay. I love you anyway. All right. So that was a good sort of simplify. We simplified our little else if section here a little bit, not a ton, but I think it is more readable now, right? We have less nesting. We're pretty much all on like it's more straightforward now. It's not, a ton of things nested inside of each other. So at least maybe it's a little bit more readable. When we make our coin flip, we can make this even more tasty dry. But for now, this is good enough. Okay, and so for our CSS, what we could do potentially is we could go back to our original function, and we could make like we could add like a condition in here to check if it's CSS, then don't do this right headline. But I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it. I think we could probably just leave this as is for now. We already slimmed down our main.js. And this last catch statement here, I don't see really anything repeatable here versus what we've already done. I think it kind of stands alone by itself because of the figlet thing. So I might leave that as well. However, we did slim it down quite a bit. Let's see. I would say this is decent for a first pass. Someone earlier suggested not running the right head if content type wasn't passed at all. Okay, so if content type is null essentially, right, or empty, then don't run right head. Yeah, because I mean that would pretty much stop the whole thing from executing at that point, right? Yeah, that's an option as well. Yeah, we could do that, and you could also put in an additional check, like I said, for if it's CSS. Yeah. Oh man, I think my voice is going. Sorry, guys. I gotta hydrate again. Ugh. Might actually have to wrap it up around 9:30 just because I don't know that my voice is gonna make it. With that in mind, how about let's go ahead and implement the coin flip, because I said that's what we were going to do. And then we can always come back if there's time. We can always come back and, keep drying this out a little bit more. Can I link my code on CodePen? If you go to my GitHub, so hang on. Let's see, do I have that as a command? Hang on. Do I? No, I didn't set that up. I need to set that up. Sorry. I couldn't even remember. Let me get the link to my GitHub, and you'll find it there. 2 seconds. Okay, here's a link directly to the repo. All right, so that's actually the finished one that has like the coin flip in it, or my finished version. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, but that's just my version. It actually already has the coin flip implemented, so you'll be a little bit ahead of me. But feel free to look through that and compare it against yours and see what might have gone wrong. But yeah, so the repo is there in chat. You might have to like click into it. I think for some reason it has like a longer file path, but so just click into it and then click into like the server.js folder, and you should see what you need there. If else, yeah, we're gonna oh, that's right, I forgot. Yeah, we got to get rid of our if else's. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that, Talateri. That's one other thing I want to do, is I want to get rid of the if else's. Yeah. So before we go to the coin flip, that's just another major thing that I wanted to tackle. Because we can see here that there is a lot of if else. There's a lot of if else nonsense going on, right? We have an if and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 else ifs and then an else. And 2. So let's look at what we're doing here, right? We're doing equal comparisons each time, right? It's all equals. We don't have any greater than, we don't have any less than. It's just equals every single time. So when you're doing a whole bunch of checking if something is equal to something else, yeah, Talateri is already ahead of me. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to turn these into to switch statements. Yep. I want to turn these into switch statements, and that's also going to help us shave off a few lines and make it a little bit more easy to read. So, and yeah, I mean, if you you could do this as I mean, there's nothing stopping you from keeping it as if statements, right? I think just in this specific case, when we're doing the same, we're comparing the same thing every time, right? Each time it's page, and we're saying page is equal to something. That's pretty much a prime candidate for a switch statement, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and we're just going to kind of start it here above the if statement for now, and then we're going to get rid of the if statement as we go. So switch, right? And then after the switch, we put the thing that we're testing against. In this case, it's always going to be page, right? So switch page. And then we have our brackets. And inside of our brackets, that's when we start writing our cases, our test cases, the things that we're testing page against. So in this case, the first case, we're going to have case. And then what are we comparing? Well, the first thing we're comparing is whether it's just that, case that, and then we put a colon, and then we say the thing that we want to happen. In that case, if page is equal to a /, then we essentially want to call our read write function, right? Okay. And what do I need in a switch statement at the end of each case? What should I never forget at the end of a switch statement case? Break. Yeah. You all know. I think we've all probably forgotten a break at the end of a switch statement at some point, right? And then you're like, what the heck am I getting back out of this thing? What's happening? Yeah. All right. So we got to put break. Yep. And then we can do our next case. Oops, sorry. Shift tab. There we go. I've really got to reposition my mic. I'm like trying to see my keyboard and I can't even see it. Can't get my hands around my mic. I need an actual mic stand is what I need. But right now I have a Funko Pop box with a roll of painter's tape on top of it. So super high tech. And the Funko Pop box is taking up quite a lot of room. All right, so we have our first case, and then our next case, I'm just going to copy and paste here because I'm lazy. It's good to be lazy as a developer. That means you work smarter. All right, and then in the next case, it's going to be if it's other page. And then we're going to read write again. Okay, and then the next case is going to be if it's other page. Grab this. Oops. Always indents farther than I think it's going to be. All right, other page. And boop. And boop. Okay, and then we have our whole API thing. So we can just grab that and we'll say, oops. Okay, other pages, and in this case it's going to be API. And here we can just grab all of this, inner code here. Okay. And then we have our CSS and our JavaScript. And what this is doing is it's not necessarily shorter like line-wise, right? But I get rid of that. What it is doing is it's making it more readable, at least in my opinion. You're getting rid of those extra brackets, like a bunch of extra brackets you're getting rid of. You're getting rid of the endless else, and you're simplifying the declaration here of the case. And in my opinion, it makes it more readable. That may not be everybody's opinion, but it is in mine anyway. So, and then the last thing we got to do is our JavaScript. And we're going to grab that. And put my break here. So that I got to check myself before I wreck myself. Oops. Okay. And get our JavaScript. And now that I'm done with this, I still want to capture the error. Like I still want to have this catch here at the end. So what do I do in a switch statement if I want to have basically, if all else fails, do this? What would I say in a switch statement to do that? Default, yeah. Yep, exactly. We're gonna have a default. Y'all got it. Y'all are quick. Y'all are quick. I love it. So, Wodude asks, "What's the pop?" But meaning the Funko Pop that I have my microphone sitting on. Are there any Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans in the house? I'm just curious before I say what it is. Any Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans? Okay. Default. I see a woohoo. Oh, okay. Some folks know what I'm about when I say Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's good to know it's not dead. Yeah, it's actually, so if you know Mystery Science Theater 3000, there's two robots on the show, right? There's Tom Servo and Crow T Robot. And this is what I got as a reward for contributing to the Kickstarter when they were trying to bring the show back on Netflix. And I got one of the rewards was like a random Funko Pop of one of the characters, and I got the weirdest one, which is a combination of Tom and Crow, the two robots mushed together into an abomination that's called Tom Serve Crow. So yeah, it's weird looking. I'll also have to get you guys a picture sometime when I'm not actively using it as a mic stand. It's wild, man. I don't really like it, but I it was my reward, so I'm keeping it. Yeah, Mavi, I'm streaming at 60 FPS now, so you might want to degrade your quality settings if you're having issues with lag. Nightmare fuel, indeed, it is. Hey, Lavendel, welcome. Okay, yeah, so now we should have a more readable, switch statement with all of our cases here. We got rid of a bunch of brackets, so I'm going to get rid of the old if statements here. Just clearing those out. And I want to make sure I don't go too far. I think that's okay if I stop right there. All right, now I should be lined up on my brackets. And so now we have a cleaner set of switch statements. And that's really, now we've really slimmed this code down quite a bit, I would say. We still have the initial, declarations and stuff at the top, but there's really no getting around that. And we have the initial setup, console logging the page, but then the actual logic is now much slimmer and easier to read, at least in my opinion. But let's test it and let's make sure it still works. Make sure I didn't break something. It's very possible. We'll see. Hey, Instinct Dev, we've done a lot of things tonight. We've made a lot of progress. So we installed Node. We got it working. We installed Node and we tested out Leon's demo file that he showed in class on Thursday. We tested that out. That helped us test to make sure Node was working. And then we took the other file, the other bunch of sample code that he gave us. We ran that. We walked through it. We saw what it was doing. We walked through basically each piece to see what it was doing. Kind of line by line to show the kinds of things it was doing. And then we took another crack at it to simplify it and make it better and more readable. And that's what we just kind of finished doing here. Yeah, so, and we're just going to test it to make sure that the last change that I made didn't totally break everything. All right, so killing the server, I've already saved, kill the server, reinitialize, node, server, JS. Okay, it's running. Now I should be able to enter Leon. And I still see everything I expect, right? The three things that I expect. Now, if I enter my name, I see unknown again, which is exactly what I expected, because for any name other than Leon, it should return unknown for all three. So, oh, Arla, thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. Good to hear that the kinds of things that I'm saying are making sense to at least some of you folks. I've only been streaming for about 2 months, so any feedback that y'all have is always appreciated. Positive or negative, as long as it's constructive. I don't mind in the slightest. So I've only been streaming since, like, on Twitch since March 9th. So not been very long at all. Okay. I have this on Git. Yeah, I do. I posted the link to my repo earlier, where I have essentially this. It's the version that I did earlier today, and so I feel like we've kind of slimmed this down a decent amount. Obviously, there's always more you can do. You can keep trimming things out, making things more dry. But for the sake of my voice, which is rapidly going away, I think we're going to move on to the coin flip, and we're going to get that working as kind of the last thing that we do today. The argument that I passed. Oh, okay, that was somebody else. Oh, I thought you were talking about me. Okay. Can I scroll down to the API? Yeah, absolutely. So with the API, we said if it's an API call, then we declare three variables: the name, the occupation, and the person's status, and we give them default values of unknown. However, in the one case, if somebody has typed in the name Leon, then we want to assign different values to each of those three variables, and we say person name, boss man, person status. And then after we've set those three variables to the appropriate values, then we write them to an object, a JSON object with a name, status, and occupation, and we pass that um, back to the requester in this case, which is also us. We pass it back to the requester as a string, and then our other JavaScript file is going to parse that as JSON, just like we do when we hit an API, right? We've hit APIs a whole bunch. We're going to parse that as JSON within our main.js, and then it's going to write it to the DOM. Should you just initialize and not assign those? Well, the reason we're assigning them is to match the behavior of the original. So in the original version, before we tweaked it, we tried to make it more dry. It said that if the name was Leon, then set these values, else they should all be unknown. So I'm respecting the original behavior of the code. I want to make it drier, but I don't want to change the actual behavior, the actual result. I'm sorry. I don't want to change the result of what the user gets back. The user shouldn't see any difference, but we should see cleaner code. So I'm respecting the original by declaring them as unknown for starters, because in 99.9% of cases, the user's not going to type the name Leon, right? They're going to type their own name or something like that, and so it's going to be unknown. Only in the case of someone named Leon types their name, then I want to change those values. Good question, though. But I mean, you could set these values to whatever you could make multiple cases. You could say, like, if it's Leon, set it to, Leon Bossman Baller. If it's Emily, set it to Emily Boss Person, Baller, because everybody should be baller at some point. So that should probably stay constant. But you could tweak this a little bit and have some fun with it. Did you, Snarfin? So in your browser, are you running localhost 8000? Yeah, go to USA. Yeah, go to USA. It's an API with just two values for now. That's all that Leon had in the sample code. You could definitely add additional ones if you wanted. That's what I'm saying. You can play with this. There's nothing stopping you from playing with it. But the sample code that Leon gave us started with two options, I guess, for the output from the API. It started with two options, and that was all that was in there. So I didn't add anything to it. Yeah, Snarf, and also make sure that you CD into the correct file. You have to make sure that you're in the the order of operations. I think when you're trying to run a node, start up a server would be to always ls in the terminal. So use ls to see where you are in your file structure. And then if you need to, cd into the appropriate folder. So change your directory so that you're in the right folder. And then once you're in the right folder, then do your node whatever. Yeah, you could create an array full of people, try to find the object with the parameter students, um, and then return the found object. Yeah, yeah, you could do an array if you wanted. If you had more, yeah, you could do yeah, you could definitely do an array. Uh, what's the right folder to run node in? You're going to run it on here. Um, can you see that, Snarfin? Right here, you see where I've highlighted, and see. So look at my path, Snarfin. Look at my path. Class materials. I'm in the class material. So I'm on Windows. So class materials, node backend simple JSON. I CD'd into that folder, node backend simple JSON, and then I did node server JS. So you can look at my path. You can reference my path to make sure that you're in the same place. Now you might have it in you won't necessarily have it in your downloads folder. That's just where I put it because I'm lazy and I don't move things to the right place in my own directory. But your other, like, if you're using the base file, then it should be the same. Sorry, you got an ad, Ari. Are you guys, out of curiosity, are you guys getting like other ads aside from the pre-roll, which is the ads that you get when you first join the stream? Because I can't turn those off, but I'm curious, are you guys getting other ads besides that? Like, for those of you who aren't subscribed? Oh, good. I'm so glad you've never got an ad. I have worked really hard to turn all of them off, um, wherever I can. So good. You get it sometimes? Okay. I mean, you should get them when you join the stream. I can't turn those off. I cannot turn those off. Physically unable to. But I have turned off all automatic ads. Yeah, an ad blocker should help you as well if you have it, but not always. Like, I have ad block Pro on Plus. I don't know. I have an ad blocker on my browser and I still get ads on Twitch. So you get them on Rufio. Yeah, Rufio's had trouble getting ads to turn off on their stream. I don't know why. Um, okay. No, El Toro, indents in JavaScript don't really matter. Are you talking about like this right here? No, that's just I could that's just me being lazy on my copy paste. Whoop, what did I do? Ah, hang on. Okay, sorry. Wrong thing. I hit Control Tab instead of Shift Tab. There we go. You can do it like that as well. Okay, it's interesting to hear that some people get them and some people don't. I've trust me that I've done everything that I can on my end to disable as many ads as I physically can. I cannot physically, Twitch will not let me run fewer ads than I already am. I'm not out to make money, off of ads, because ads are annoying as heck. Okay. All right. So let's do the coin flip. Okay. Let's do that, and then we'll wrap up before my throat explodes. Okay. So the specific instructions for doing this coin flip, that Leon said on the Discord, were that it needs to be done server side. And so what that means is that he's not allowing us to put it inside of our main.js where we would normally do this kind of thing, right? Because inside, main.js is just going to be running on our side. It's going to be running on the user, on the browser side, in the DOM. However, our server.js file is what Node is using to do things server side. So what that's telling us is that we need to do our coin flip inside of our server.js file. Okay. Try a bit of ginger. Yeah, I should get some ginger tea. Normally my voice isn't like this. Normally, I can get through a 4-hour stream no problem, but my voice has been scratchy all day. I think it's just, pollen and stuff. Um, does it matter whether we call is Node.js or server? Yes. So what you're doing is you're calling Node. See what I have here? You're saying Node, and then you're telling Node what file to target. So we have, see, our file name is server.js. So that does matter, yes. But yeah, I mean, you could have different files. It just needs to be this file that you want to target, right? It needs to be the file that you're trying to target. So the word node is separated, node, and then the file name. But yeah, it doesn't have to be called server.js. You can call it whatever you want as long as you know what you're targeting. Yep. Okay, great. Okay, cool. Gotcha. All right, let's do the coin flip. So we've established that I need to do the coin flip somewhere within my server.js file. So if just looking at what we already have everything that we need right here in order to do that. So I'm not going to start from scratch. I'm going to use what I have, because why start from scratch? Don't need to do that. So if I was going to put this, if I wanted to generate a coin flip, return it to the user, and write it to the DOM, what part of in which part of my existing code might I put that that statement, or that process? It is going to be inside the server, yeah. API. Yeah, that was a hard one. Sorry, my phone is ringing again. I apologize. API. Yes. So yeah, we're gonna repurpose this little thing that's happening here, where we type Leon and we get something, and we type any other name and we get something else. We can just turn this into a coin flip object creator. It's our API. We can do whatever the heck we want with it, right? So we can just, yeah, we can just totally just repurpose this into something else. So let's do that. Let's make it, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this. Let's make it so that the user has to type the word flip into the box. And then what that should do, as soon as they type flip and they click the button, it should return a coin flip result that's randomized, heads or tails. So, and then they should see that in the DOM. So let's do that. You don't have to do it that way. You could return an image if you wanted, like an image of a coin, heads or tails. But however you want to do it is up to you. But this is how we're going to do it. So in the case of my API, I'm going to get rid of this stuff here. We don't want to return like name or occupation anymore. We want to return a coin flip. So I'm going to leave this general logic. But I think what we're going to end up with is just an object. We're going to end up with an object, and we're going to pass back some JSON, but it's only going to have one property, just one. And that's going to be the result of our coin flip. Okay? So in the case of an API call, we want to flip a coin. So how might I do a coin flip? What's the quickest and easiest way to do a coin flip and get a at least mostly random result? You all know how to do a coin flip. Yeah, absolutely. Map.random, right? That's the quickest way for us to do a coin flip. Yeah, totally. Oh, and Rasco, thank you so much for offering to help Snarf there. I would, but like I said, I don't think my voice is going to last too much longer. So thank you for offering to do that, Rascal. Okay, yeah, math.random, absolutely. So we're essentially going to what we want to say is if our param of student equals flip. I'm not gonna, we could change that to be something else instead of student, like result or something, like, I don't know, like input or who knows, but I'm gonna leave it as student. It doesn't matter. The user's never gonna see that, but we just wanna say, hey, if the user types in flip, then do the coin flip. Let's see. I'm also going to simplify this a little bit even more. I'm going to use a ternary operator instead, because this is going to be a lot shorter statement. So I'm just going to declare, I'm going to say, let flip result equals, I've deleted too much there, params, this is exactly what was there before, I just accidentally deleted it, params student, equals flip, param student equals flip, then do a math.random, math.random, and if that math.random is less than or equal to 0.5, then return heads. Sorry, I'm typing so slowly. I just literally cannot get my hands around my mic stand. I'll have to modify that. Else tails. Yeah. Okay. And okay, so see, math.random is 5. Yeah, all right. And so we're kind of nesting things here. This is probably not the best way to do it. As I'm reading this again, I'm like, that makes no sense. So actually, I'm not going to do this as a ternary operator. Sorry for the reset there. But what we're going to do is, let's see. Oh, well, here, I'll just show you how I originally had it, and it's kind of weird, but it did work. So it's not the best, though. Type flip in the input box. So I have like a nested ternary, and it's like super code warsy. I realize I probably shouldn't do that. Yeah, let's do this. Let flip result. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do flip results equals math.random heads or tails. Just set that first. And then we'll say if the parameter student, if param student equals flip, sorry, I'm copying and pasting here. If param student equals flip, then let's see, then what do I want to do here? I'm trying to think of how to make this better versus like a nested ternary, which I don't think I want to do. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, actually, no, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, no, never mind. All right, so I'm going to declare flip result first as type flip in the box, type flip in the input box. All right, so that's what it's going to be by default. And then if student equals flip, then set flip result equal to the actual coin flip. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. All right, yeah, so flip result is going to be type flip by default because it's going to assume that, the user, there's a ton of other different words that the user could type other than flip. However, if they do type flip, then do a coin flip and assign it to flip result. Okay, and then the very last thing we want to do is create our object and assign flip results. And I'm also going to change the name of this property to just be like result. And we're also going to have to modify some of our other code to meet that need. But let's leave it as name at first. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like flip-flopping here, but let's just leave it like this for now. So what we're doing here is we are setting flip result to type flip in the input box, saying, hey, if param student equals flip, then set flip result to an actual coin flip, change the value, and then write whatever flip result is to this JSON object and toss it back. Okay, so that should work. Let's save it and test it. Now we expect to see something different show up in our DOM, right? So let's see if it works. All right, I'm gonna kill my server. I did save, yes I did. All right, and we're gonna say node. Okay, server's running again. I'm gonna reload the page and I'm gonna say flip. Hey, look at that. I get a coin flip. And I can see as I keep clicking, it's giving me different results. And two, if I expand my terminal here a little bit, if I expand my terminal, we can see, look, it's making repeated calls to our little API, right? Our little one property API. Look at it, making the repeated calls. So we can see it's working and it's giving us, different randomized result. That's a lot of tails. I know, it's the illusion of randomness, right? But no, it's being as random as it can. Obviously there's problems with the math.random that you can see explained online, but for stuff like this, it's perfectly random enough for us. So yeah, that's how you make a coin flip on the server. Not bad, huh? And yeah, you could make this, even more code warsy and change your if statement to compress it even more and all that. But in this case, we're not going to bother with it. I think this is readable enough. Just hard code it to always return 4. Totally fair. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how you make a coin flip. So what did we do? We did everything that Leon asked us to, right? And we did it in, wow, just under 3 hours. I can never come in under 3 hours. I'm 3 minutes under 3 hours, and this is a major accomplishment for me. Oh, I always think, oh yeah, in my head, I'm like, oh, this will only take an hour and a half to get through, and then I end up talking for 3 or 4 hours every single time, never fails. You can never remember the name of that random algorithm we should use. Must add that to Anki. Oh, the Fisher-Yates shuffle. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, that you just know the name of it. Like all you need in your Anki, don't put the whole thing in your Anki, just put the name in your Anki. And so that way you'll have it in your brain and you can Google it. That's the kind of thing you just Google each time and copy paste, or, have it saved on I do sometimes. I'll save it like something like a sticky note, like on my computer screen, like, on the virtual sticky notes. I'll just, save something useful there and I can just copy and paste it when I need it. Yeah, Fisher-Yates. Ariuk, sorry. We are just working. We're just getting into Node right now. We haven't started any libraries or any JavaScript frameworks or anything like that. We're learning everything vanilla for now. Through this, through the courses that we're taking. Exclamation point Leon. If y'all don't know, if you're all not a part of 100 devs, feel free to do exclamation point Leon to get more information. What's the problem with math.random? JavaScript kind of bugs out, and sometimes it's not perfectly random the way it picks numbers. So there's something called the Fisher-Yates shuffle, which can help with that. Oh, hey, no problem at all. I'm happy to explain because, yeah, a lot of folks are used to seeing and using things that are supposed to help you, like libraries and or Express or TypeScript or whatever. And yeah, we're straight vanilla like ice cream. I got ice cream on the brain now after that whole Dairy Queen sequence earlier, or I don't know if it was Dairy Queen, but yeah, ice cream. Yeah. Okay. So there was a question about the coin flip. Okay. So what's happening? So as soon as somebody types something into the box and hits the button, right, it initiates an API call. And we saw that earlier in our main.js file. It's literally doing a fetch. And so it's expecting an API. And so in order to fulfill that, we need to say, oh, it's looking for an API. Okay, we need to build an object, turn it into JSON, and toss it back. So in this case, the result that we want is to say that if they type flip into the box and click the button, we assume that they want a coin flip, and we should do a flip. If they enter anything else, we should say, hey, type flip in the box to get a coin flip, because we assume that they just don't know what to type. There's no instructions on there, so just tell them to type flip. So I'm assuming that if I'm just Joe user and I'm coming to this page, I'm not going to immediately think to type flip in this box. I won't know. So we're gonna set our result initially to just tell them type flip in the box, because we assume that's what's going to happen for the most part. However, if the word flip is passed in, so meaning the user did enter flip in the box, then we want to change the value of our flip result to essentially generate a random number. And what that's going to do is generate a random number between 0 and 1. And so we want to give heads or tails equal probability. So we can do that to say, hey, if our random result is less than or equal to 0.5, then return heads. If it's greater than um, 0.5 all the way up to including 1, then return tails, and assign that to flip result. And then the last thing that we do is take the value of flip result, whatever that is, and we build a new JSON object and assign flip results to that property in that object. And then we pass that whole object here. If I go here and I look at the console, we'll see it. We'll see the object that we're passing back. Yeah, look at all my flips. We see that what we get back from our little API is an object with one property and the result of that coin flip. So we can see all the different results here, right? And so then what we're doing in our main.js, so the server tosses, just like an API, the server tosses the JSON back to our main.js, our browser side JavaScript, not the server side, but the browser side, and it then writes that result to the DOM. Are the rest of the stream team people also in the cohort? This is your first time attending. Yes, I'm in the cohort. I believe Verola Fox is another stream team member, is also in the cohort. Rufio, hello, it's Rufio, who's the third member of the stream team. They were in the previous cohort, but they're still, they still do a lot of learning. They're doing a lot of job hunting stuff right now. Rufio is. So if that's what you're interested in, definitely check them out. They're a lot of fun. They like birds too. So if you like birds, you'll get along. Which cohort is this? This is a cohort of 100 devs, which is it's basically learning full stack web development. So feel free to do !Leon in the chat if you want more information. And yeah, this is the second cohort of 100 devs. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Vero was in this cohort. Well, they're still very active on the Discord, so that's why I assumed they were in this cohort. Yeah, and Vero does a lot of practice on Stream Team. They do a ton of like Pomodoro focused stuff, so more like collaboration, like working on code wars, getting tasks done. So if you're having trouble focusing and like studying, Vero does great like focus, study together, work together type streams. And Rufio does, a lot of like, they're doing a lot of job hunting type streams right now. So, and my streams tend to be more like focused strictly on like class material. Although I did do some Banky, and I did do like an AMA last week. So I'm sure, we'll do some more Banky and stuff as we go, but I tend to stay pretty close to the class material. Whether that's projects, I do some fun app projects occasionally. So yeah, just check back through my VODs if you want to see the kind of things that I do. But yeah, we all have a slightly different flavor. So just pick, whichever stream team member or members, best meets your needs to help you succeed in the course. And, because we all, all three of us stream team members all, communicate and collaborate really well with each other. So, there's absolutely no competition between us. So we all think each other. I think we all think we're all pretty awesome. So stream team besties. Oh yeah, and you can type exclamation point YouTube to get my YouTube channel as well. Yeah, and Leah, so there's also some great folks who are streaming on Twitch who are not part of the stream team yet, but I think they should be. Yeah, we've got Leah T Codes, we've got Rascal 2, um, we've got Melody Dev. I think they're in this cohort. Yeah, there's all sorts of helpers out there, um, both on Twitch and on the Discord that are doing great work. Yeah, also, thank you, Leah. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're ever like, if if the stream team isn't, if the folks on the stream team aren't doing it for you, and you want to maybe look at some other folks who are not on the stream team but are in 100 devs and are streaming 100 devs related content on the Discord, you can check out the self promo channel. That's where the folks that are not on the stream team can still announce their stream. That's where I used to announce mine there before I was on the stream team. So there's a lot of great content there on the self promo channel as well. So enable notification for that channel as well if you want even more content. There's so much content out there to help you guys, and I hope that you can find the streamer or the Discord member that can help you achieve what you want to achieve. So many helpers. That's why I love this community. There's a lot of folks streaming. Yeah. Doughboy asked, "Have I worked with Node before, or is this brand new for me?" It is brand new for me. I before about 1 p.m. today, I hadn't. I mean, I'd been to class on Thursday, but I hadn't even touched the Node stuff. So I kind of crammed. I kind of crammed all this in, before my stream this evening. I had a pretty busy week, so normally I like to prep a little bit more ahead of time, but it, didn't happen this time. So I'm glad it went as well as it did. Um, yeah, I haven't used Node before. This is new for me. We won't really get to stuff that I'm familiar with until we hit the back end. I hope we touch on SQL because I want to show you. I can't wait to show you guys some SQL. Yeah, and Hello It's Rufio is also working on their 100 Hours project, which is really cool. It's a talking dictionary for a Native American language, which is just a rad idea. I think it's awesome. Um, not enough hours in the day. I know it's so hard. I try to pop in, and like sometimes I'm lurking on folks' streams, but yeah, with a day job, I just don't. I try to pop in on my fellow stream team members' streams whenever I can, but yeah, I'm kind of limited on hours otherwise. Either I'm streaming or I'm working or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, thank you for the follow, big girl. How are y'all feeling about 100 hours projects? What are y'all's ideas? Oh, and Rascal builds all sorts of really cool tools to automate stuff and to scrape stuff. They're out here, yeah. They're basically automating the community, which is really cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know, right? It's hard to know what to do, what's going to work. Pain management app. Well, that's a really cool idea. A dart counter. Oh, that's cool. So you found it. Yeah, you said so. None of the apps on the market are doing what you want. So you found a niche and you're filling a need. That's awesome. Oh, you got a search that'll tell how members of Congress trade stocks. That's so cool. Oh, Rascal's 100 Hours Project is making timestamps, automated timestamps, or making or sharing timestamps for Twitch or YouTube videos. That's so cool. Hey, Sharma G, welcome. Sharma, I think we're just about wrapping up here in a little bit, but feel free to check out the VODs that are on my channel. Then you can start from the beginning. We've been going for about 3 hours on this stream, so we'll be wrapping up here pretty soon. But yeah, feel free to check out the VODs to catch the whole thing from start to finish. Parking app. That's fun. You want to make a website that will take in speech and repopulate back the word, but with letters missing to help improve speech and spelling and reading. Oh, yeah. So like a speech trainer and reading trainer kind of app. Very cool. Budgeting app. Those are always good. Playing around with data analytics in the back end. Much nearer hour 100 than hour one. Yeah. Checking grades and attendance for homeschooling and generating forms. Yeah. It's a great idea. Pirate themed calc. Yes, I saw you working on that, Leah. That was really cool. That looks really fun. I love it. Like I used to love like Math Blaster and like those educational type games because I was really bad at math as a kid. Um, and so I really felt like those like educational type games did really help me a lot because they were fun, and so I didn't notice that I was learning, which was the important part. Oh, thank you, Arlook. Thank you for the bits. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Rideshare. Oh, information about rideshare drivers. Cool. That's awesome. Well, would you guys like to see my my mock-up for mine? It's not pretty, but so I think I mentioned on a previous stream that my idea was for a foster tracker. So, and what I mean by that is I foster kittens for the Humane Society, and so um, I one of the challenges that I've encountered in doing this foster work is that a lot of like the communication between myself and the foster coordinator at the shelter, like about my kittens, happens via text. And so it's not like really tracked in any way, like, right? Like you text back and forth, but there's no like active tracking of weight or health. And none of that gets reported back to the foster coordinator unless I tell them. And then it's hard for them to sometimes keep track of what's going on with like each kitten. And I can't imagine how hard that would be across, 10 or 20 different fosters with, each having a litter of multiple kittens. And so I want to build an app that helps to track that, that stores that information for the foster coordinator, and they can see it on kind of a dashboard and track health and weight and maybe intervene before things go badly if a foster is having trouble, with a medical issue. Um, no, the cats are not chipped as of like they get chipped eventually, but they're not. They're when they're kittens, they're too small for that. Yeah, they make those for yeah, like there's similar apps like that for babies, right? Like tracking medical issues and health and that kind of thing. And so kittens are really fragile, and things can go things can go south pretty quickly with kittens, and so keeping track of their situation and intervening quickly is important if things aren't going as expected, or even just tracking like have they had their vaccinations, what's their weight look like, are they about ready to come back to the shelter so we have a cage ready for them, that kind of thing. um, I'm focusing on kittens just because I don't foster dogs, so I don't really know their specific needs. um, but I can show you guys my Figma if you want to see it. Get it pulled up here. And I may add dogs eventually. I'm going to start with kittens just because, like I say, just because that's what I know. But so it's really small. Ooh, okay. So this is like the basic dashboard that I have so far. And essentially what it does is it keeps track of the names of the foster caregivers. And then, just in general, like how many kittens they have. Do they have an adult with them? Like, is there a mom cat? Um, Sort of tracks, like this is just the basic dashboard, but then you can dig in for more detail. And it basically says when are they coming back to the shelter. That's what this date is here. And then the bar should change color if they have like a medical issue or anything like that. So that just allows the foster coordinator at a glance to see how the kittens are doing. um, and so then if they want more information on the kittens, they can dig in a little bit, and they can have a list of the fosters with their information, start date, end date, and then like click, like for example, if I want to see more about the kittens that Anna Kay has, I can click to expand it and see specific info per kitten. As someone who's fostered dogs, I think I spent most of my time tracking poop. Yeah. There's a lot of that with kittens too. Just, bodily fluids, doing laundry. It just happens, right? With babies of any species, that's just par for the course, I think. There's just a lot of fluids. Yeah, parsley and sage. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's just a Figma, right? So there's nothing. It doesn't work. It's just a layout. But I tried to make it look similar to other sort of non-user facing apps I'd seen before, like sort of like more like industrial apps and apps that are like internal. It's less about like the colors and the design and more about the content. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. Yeah. All right, Muckety. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I have so far. Just 2 pages, but there'll be more pages as we go. Um, oh, El Toro, you figured out your error. That's awesome. You typed JS/main HTML instead of JS main JS. Ah, yeah, that'll do it. It's so easy to just make those mistakes, and then like, yeah, it's hard to spot sometimes. I feel it. Okay, well, I think I'm going to wrap up. I had a lot of fun with you guys as always. Like I say, the completed code is on GitHub already. So if you're struggling, getting errors, not sure what's going on, and you think that the problem may be code related, feel free to hit up that repo on my GitHub. I can grab the link again, and and also modify it, like make it, do more with it, make it better. Thanks for the hydrate. I need it. I'll get you the link to the GitHub, and then we will find someone to raid. Okay. Here is here's the link if you need it specifically to the repo. Create, yeah, pull request it, clone it, whatever you got to do. And then if you do make something cool with it, feel free to tag me on Twitter, !Twitter. And because I like to see what you guys make. I think it's really cool when you guys make something cool that maybe was inspired by one of my streams. So every time you tag me and tell me something cool that you made, I always look, because I think it's really cool. Okay, Snarvin, I think Rascal might be able to help you after this stream. I'm dying over here. Rascal, if you don't have time or anything like that, Snarfin, we can always set up a time like tomorrow and figure this out. I'm sure we'll be able to solve whatever issue you're having. It's on GitHub. I posted the link there, Edward. Go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments in chat and just click that link. That'll take you to it. Nope, no problem at all. Okay, let's find a person to raid. Two seconds, I gotta pull it up. Oh, Mifu Ri is doing JS with Code Wars. That would be fun. More Code Wars practice, right? Okay. Let's look. Give me 1 second to get to my dashboard. Stream manager. Raid. Yeah. All right. How about we do? Yeah. If they're doing JS with Code Wars, let's do Mifu Ri then. Okay. I'm starting the raid, and it takes a minute to rev up. But I'm glad you all had a good time. Follow me on Twitter to see updates about what my next stream topic is going to be, or just cool stuff I might post occasionally. So yeah, glad you had a good time, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, let's go ahead. Still waiting for a few more folks to jump on the raid train. I don't want to leave anybody behind. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and raid now. My channel, if you don't get into the raid, my channel will be hosting Mifu anyway, so you can still see them. I only go toilet twice a week, man. That's all I got time for, unfortunately. But okay, Here we go. See you Wednesday. Have a good one.